Hey guys, Kevin Hale here with the latest shooting from the lip. It's SFTL 354, our on-site recording at Baxter's 942 in the Highlands on October 2nd, 2018. Guests include Rob Givens, Pat McDonald, Jeff Daus, Trevor Cravens, Caroline Knop, talking about the third annual Aviation and Military Heritage Festival. We also have Chea K Woolfolk, who is with Heart and Soul Mogul Network Radio, N.I.T Nothing Is Taboo, the Glam Squad, and much more. We have Jesse Daniels. Jesse is with IdealDigital, StayActive 502. We have the Burlesque Girls, Lola Delicious, Beatrix Be Naughty, Ethel Loveless, promoting the Halloween Spectacular at Fall Burlesque Showcase. Ending the show, Trending News segment with Stewart Askew Kevin Cummings, special guest Lauren Eid Casey Allen. Follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Enjoy. Peace out, Lovell.
Let's get busy.
All right, guys, Kevin Hale here, shooting from the lip, on-site recording at Baxter's 942 in the Highlands. It's Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018. Several segments tonight. 5 segments tonight. Wow. I've got Burlesque ladies, not to, look past you guys, but
say nothing.
We got a little bit of
these are pilots. So the pilots of Burlesque, my goodness.
I know. I mean,
the Burlesque Weeping Willow.
Alcohol. Blank Willow. Blank a doodle doo. All right. At the end of the table, Caroline Knop, who I don't know how we connected. Was it Tinder? Bumble? How did we do?
Oh, you're hilarious.
I mean, was it? Anyways, or was it? No, it was Craigslist.
Kevin,
looking for whatever.
Reveal all those secrets.
All right. Oh, I forgot.
Hey, look, I don't mean to call out anybody's age, but I'm sure it was via a classified ad.
It was
back in the bargain mark.
It was in print. Yeah. I wrote her a letter.
Looking for someone that likes.
Check yes or no.
Check yes or no.
Well, and for pina coladas. Yeah. Someone that likes drinking champagne.
It was the bottle that I threw in the ocean. You got the bottle of the ocean. And anyway.
That's it.
You're with Simply PR Kentucky.
Yes.
Let's get quickly before we talk to these guys. I want that background. What are you doing? How did we all get together here?
Oh, goodness. Well, Simply PR is just simply me, myself, and I. I've been back in Louisville for about 15 years. Moved here from New York, originally from here.
Okay.
And just I represent a lot of things local. I stand for everything grassroots, pretty much grassroots gal on the go. And the Bowman Field Aviation Heritage Festival event is near and dear to my heart. I started 3 years ago with these guys.
Third annual.
With Pat and Trevor and Tisha, as well as Rick Tab. And then I got to meet Jeff and Rob. And it's just been a treat. And you do all things local. You do entertainment.
Yeah. And this has already been, we're only a few minutes in. It's been quite entertaining.
Oh, it's going to be.
It's early. Don't go home.
Yeah. Gosh.
Wait, guys, wait for the climactic moment.
Oh,
Don't.
I'm just doing this.
Oh, boy. Reeling it in.
Reeling it in.
So I just thought they would be perfect to have on your show. And highly entertaining. As you will say.
Already. And I'm very glad these guys are here. It is the third annual Bowman Field Aviation and Military Heritage Festival. We've got pilots here. We've got people who are involved with Bowman Field as well, right? Or like,
yes.
Okay. Oh, yes. Well, let's go around because we got to cast the four horsemen of the apocalypse of this new apocalypse here. Let's start. Go ahead.
Oh, great.
Intros.
Yeah. So I'm Rob Givens. I'm a native Louisvillian. Spent a lot of time in the Air Force pilot. Came home in 2013 and got involved with these guys through Bowman Field. Why do you keep pointing at me? What are you pointing at me for? Yeah, yes, I was. I flew air shows for a couple of years with the Thunderbirds, which was a lot of fun. Ooh. But kind got drawn into all this mess. And really, I'm here to try and be as nice to Trevor as possible because of the festival that he does. Yeah, you're going next.
Let's go with the next guy.
Well, excuse me, and also Rob is the Deputy Director of Air Operations, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
For the festival.
My boss, the Director of Air Operations, right over there. So
there he is.
He's going to dock my pay if I say anything wrong. Oops, wait, you're not paying me, so that's awesome.
Just say whatever you want.
Yeah, nothing from nothing still is nothing. All right, next up.
Well, I'm Trevor Cravens. So I got involved with the event 3 years ago. I was invited. We do some other events at Bowman Field. Mainly, I actually come from beer is my background. So
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Co-produced the Tailspin Ale Fest and some other beer festivals. Got to meet these guys through that event, actually, and hanging out at the Hangar 5. And we started talking about an aviation event, and so we had a background in running events, and they knew how to direct planes and get the planes. So we got together and decided we should do an event.
Wow. Next up.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
No, it's you.
I'm Pat McDonald. I'm not an I'm an aviator. I'm not a military guy like these guys or a producer. I just work hard to keep Bowman Field moving along, and I would say they title me the executive director of the festival, but that's just for title only. We're all a team. We work together, and we got a lot of pilots and friends and family on the field, and we just come together each year to do it. But I grew up next to the field, learned to fly there, still live right around the corner, and get the best team together to do these festivals for the people of Louisville.
I love it. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Jeff Daus, and just talking about, some of the people at this table, Rob's a native Louisvillian, flew for the Thunderbirds, Air Force fighter pilot. He and I both flew in Desert Storm, but we didn't know each other. I was flying with the Navy, flying F-14s off carriers, and and Pat learned how to fly at Bowman Field. So, the interest of all of us has come towards Bowman Field, and I met Trevor through his beer. The tailspin event that he flew and asked for some airplanes, and it was just a real natural merger where we handled some of the airplanes.
Nothing goes together like aircraft and alcohol.
The whole new
Air 14 on Nintendo.
Yeah, he flies Nintendo.
I fly Nintendo Air 14s.
Rob and myself, one of the interesting things for us is he and I are on the board of directors for Vintage Warbirds, and Vintage Warbirds is kind of a unique venue at Bowman Field. And we think we stimulated aviation in the community, mostly from the Warbird side, but we're also mentoring young kids to learn how to fly as well and put an airplane together. So, it's about giving back to Bowman Field.
And put an airplane together?
We actually are building an airplane that you're going to see at the festival.
We got kids doing this,
We have kids doing it with actually UPS mechanics that are teaching them how to do it.
It's a great
It's
program.
an unbelievable
I'm sure.
program.
Yeah.
And I think, our whole goal is to give back and to get younger people involved in aviation. And that's what the festival is. The festival is to let the public into the state of Kentucky and specifically Louisville to see what Bowman Field is, because Bowman Field's, as far as I know, it's the oldest towered FAA field that's left. And, we're coming up to the 100th anniversary, which is going to be in 2020. So we're really proud of it.
I know that. Okay.
They used to train glider pilots in World War II at Bowman Field. And we're going to have some World War II airplanes at Bowman Field this weekend. We're going to have some airplanes that are, from around the era that Bowman Field was founded, around the 20s and 30s, as well as all the way up to current. And we're really excited about the whole thing.
It's funny you mentioned that. We were talking earlier with Four Roses, who's one of our sponsors, and Prohibition was in 1929, okay? The plane we'll have in the Ford Tri-Motor was built in 1928, so it gives it from perspective. That's the beer, the bourbon, and the alcohol all come together in aviation.
Didn't that specific aircraft smuggle alcohol from Canada into the U.S.?
Did. Probably the Kennedys or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe?
absolutely.
Kennedy
all right.
That's the story we're going with. No,
we all have a story with Bowman Field. My first small airplane ride was at Bowman Field. It's such a rich incubator for aviation, and from across the board to flying aircraft or fixing aircraft or just being a part of managing aircraft. It's a great thing, and it's unique because a lot of cities had small airfields in them, and they've moved as the cities have grown up. Bowman Field has maintained its position, and we want to always see it there. It's a great thing for Louisville.
I'm curious, how is it able to? What kind of funding, or how does Bowman Field go about being able to stay current? Whatever. I mean,
Functioning.
I really think if you look at the city of Louisville, because of UPS coming in here, and they need it as an auxiliary field to take to relieve.
Okay. So there is that connection.
I think they need to relieve the light aircraft from the Stanford Field over to Bowman. So Bowman Field's a jewel. There's some other airports nearby that expanded because of the expansion of UPS being here in the mid, to early 80s. And, Bowman Field, there's...
So Bowman Field is not just for personal leisure. I mean, there's some business use out of it, too.
Okay.
Yeah, business jet,
I didn't know that.
charter aircraft, that type of thing.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, most of the flights coming out of Bowman, it's funny, back in 1927, Charles Lindbergh landed here on his promotion across the country.
Wow.
And at that time, aviation was just kind of new and the city didn't really care about it. And he solely lobbied the people around the city to support a bond issue to buy the land back. So the city did. They bought the land back from a family, a German family, and started the airport. If not for his flight here, Bowman Field probably wouldn't exist in the manner it is.
Wow.
And the history, the reason that we all are so passionate about that is because there's so much history there. People drive by it often, and just, ever since 9/11, the fences have gotten bigger, the locks have gotten stronger, and people don't want. We work hard, all of us, to have people come inside the fences, come in and experience and feel the planes and meet the pilots and tell their stories and smell the fuel and all the ways we learned to do it. And the kids today, there's never been a better time to be in aviation. And the kids today have a wide open, awesome opportunity to get into aviation. Piloting, fixing, flying, the whole 9 yards. It's great.
And Jeff and I are both military guys, obviously, and most of the guys that we fly with at Hangar 5, the vintage warbirds, are former military pilots, and we're at an interesting critical shortage of military pilots these days, and so that trend is only going to continue. So the more youngsters we can convince to embrace aviation and then think about it in military terms, whatever, the better off it is. And we send kids to service academies, and help people go through pilot training and that whole type of thing. And it's a great thing to see them fulfill that role.
Real quick on that, another thing, aviation, Bowman Field's been an aviation area for years, but we're starting to repurpose some of it. And like Trevor and Tish and their great company, they're putting venues on and putting events on the field. People are coming into Bowman now that are not aviators, and they're hanging out in the hangars and drinking beer and having great parties. And they're saying, wow, this is cool stuff. So, we're repurposing it for these guys, too, and they're doing a wonderful job.
Perhaps the best celebration and festival, Western civilization, actually. Trevor, here you go. That's right.
Wow. The tailspin.
We'll add that
February.
Locally voted.
That's going to be a fun podcast. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Locally voted at Baxter's is the best festival, amongst the five of us.
Yes.
No. I think I went as far as to say it was Western civilization.
Well, somewhere between there.
I'm throwing down on that one.
When you were talking about the history, though, if I recall correctly, just to sort of put in perspective what a critical icon and element Bowman Field is, if I recall, in the 50s, this was the busiest airport in North America. Bowman Field was. At a particular date and time.
I think really the major reason, if you look at the way this country was founded, a lot of, like in Europe, they adopted more of a train model, and in America, we adopted more of an aviation hub and spoke where people would fly. And really, I think the reason you're asking why Louisville's centrally located, so it's a real good spoke, and it was a major hub for people to come in and out and go to different facilities. DC-3s flew in here and flew in and out of Bowman Field since, as far as I think the 30s. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And to Trevor's point, I've got a quote here from Flying Magazine because I came prepared. Bowman Field is featured in an article of the May issue of Flying Magazine and is declared the busiest general aviation airport in the lower 48 states. This distinction is attributed to its location close to the city, vibrant and strong training organizations, and operating in the field. So there you go.
Take that, all you other states out there.
Everybody's jealous of Bowman Field. We want to keep it that way.
Keep it that way.
Yeah.
Well, all right. That's a good segue. What does it take for you guys to keep it that way?
moving forward?
Keep doing what we're doing.
Well,
and
I
doing
know
more
that,
each year.
but what else? I mean, what more is involved in that?
We need to stimulate the youth.
The youngsters.
Okay, that's what.
to be a part of it. And I think one of the things that we've kind of morphed towards in the festival is to get younger people involved. And, I mean, listen, I'm a former military guy who's a UPS pilot now, and it's not just about military aviation, it's about civilian aviation. And you can read where United is saying they're going to need 8,000 pilots over the next 10 years. Delta's saying the same. We're at about 25,000 pilots short over the next 10 years. And, they're going to feed military channels, they're going to feed civilian channels, and these are really good jobs. And, my company has been on the forefront. We're really good from that 400-hour, a person with 400-hour who's an intern at UPS, to put them through AmeriFlight with a flow-through program where they can come back and work at UPS. And what we're trying to do at Bowman, I think, and we're working with Shawnee and some of the other smaller, the kids programs, is to have an avenue from maybe even the junior, senior level of high school where they can learn how to fly, and we can work them into an internship. And listen, I'm really proud of being a UPS pilot. I think it's an unbelievable company and what we have opportunities here, whether it be on the mechanic side or on the aviation side. And listen, the other airport in Kentucky is pretty heavily involved with the Amazon. I mean, aviation is exploding in Kentucky. And,
you're talking about the one here in Louisville, or
no,
Covington.
Covington Airport. And I just think that Kentucky is, we want to be on the forefront, and these little airports, I think, are the key to that. There's some hindrances. I mean, people are going to drive in, and I think the biggest hindrance they're going to see is what the gas price is. Gas is not very cheap, so we want to show people that it's not a stopping point, and we have avenues to get people some experience. But
go ahead.
To another part of your question, but what do we need to keep it going, right? So, we need support from the city. Clearly, we have to be able to have a good relationship with the city and all that entails. And we also have to have good support from the neighbors, right? I mean, there's multiple neighborhoods around there. Hopefully, they feel as strongly about Bowman Field as we do, right? And working hand in hand with them to meet their needs, but yet at the same point in time be able to do the flight ops that we want to do is a great thing, and give back to the community. That's what we need.
And you mentioned about the future. 100 years ago, aviation was just nobody. They didn't care. They didn't think it was going to make. The smartest guys in the room didn't even think it was going to go, and it is what it is today. And if you asked 100 Kentuckians what the number one industry in Kentucky is, less than 2% of them would say aerospace. Aerospace is the number one industry in Kentucky.
Is it?
It's above cars, transport, cargo, tobacco, bourbon. Those are great too.
Number one legal.
Aerospace.
That's amazing. I did not know that.
And the reason that's important is 100 years from now, Bowman Field will be doing drone flights, space flights. It'll be different than we see it today. So all of us come together to kind of see over the hill a little bit and kind of spark the interest in these kids, and they'll fly the drones.
Just think of that podcast 10 years from now. Yeah, I had my first rocket flight out of Bowman. That's the first time I went to the moon was out of Bowman.
Now the neighbors may get upset, but
it'll be like, energy.
Once you all do your 33rd annual, then maybe we'll I hope we're here.
We better be.
You guys that were in the military, I digress here. And you're flying, doing the military thing up in the sky. UFO, real quick. I'm digressing here, but I need to know your take.
You're on record.
Big Brother's probably not listening.
I just tell you that there's.
To get the answer.
America is such an unusual country that there's things that we don't know everything about. I'll never forget in Desert Storm, and this is in '91. I wasn't allowed to join up on a tanker at certain times. And I was a little scared because I was a junior wingman flying F-14s off my skipper, and I got a little nervous, and I'm pushing the power up a little bit more than I needed to be, and I was running low on gas, and I knew the tankers were up. And I remember, them screaming at me as I was going to the tanker, and I'm like, I'm going to the tanker. When I joined up on the tanker, there's something underneath it that nobody had ever seen, or a Navy pilot had never seen.
That's all I need to know.
It was an F-117.
But it wasn't a little green man flying.
Don't matter.
I'm just saying, I saw.
To me, it's more about the technology, not about the little figure.
I saw something that we had never seen before.
That's what I'm getting
and the only thing that gave me a warm and fuzzy was it said U.S. Air Force on it. And I was scared. I
I
to
hope
death
that's
when I
recorded.
Yeah, I think
because
you
the
missed-
only
I
time he's
think you
ever
missed the
said
last
that
part.
about
Yeah,
US.
It's recorded. Oh, yeah, yeah.
No,
Well, that I take that as a no, not a no.
I think there's probably
No, he's saying
things
he saw
out
a
there
stealth
that we
bomber.
don't know about.
Well, is that what you're saying, a stealth bomber, or you're saying no? Well, you're saying
Or stealth fighter.
you're saying you do not know what you saw.
I know now what I saw. I
Okay.
didn't know then.
Okay.
And there's stories about being in Aurora. I probably believe that there could be something that I
Okay.
couldn't contemplate in my mind
So
that's
far.
out there. That
What
we
about you,
don't.
Rob?
You're like, I'm going to answer that question? You guys are crazy.
Q X-Files theme music right now.
The F-117 is a great program that Jeff was talking about, but the F-117 was kept secret for so long, and it was in a place that as Area 51, which really exists. Woohoo! Everybody knows this, but it's the Grooms Lake Test Facility in Nellis Air Force
They
Base.
know it now, but it was denied for the longest time.
But people were having some fun with that, I think.
Yeah.
But then it moved up to a different airfield for a while, and then it became a public thing. So, hey, we're the United States, right? We've got technology, we work on things, we do all kinds of things, and there's some stuff I'm sure that would, you'd look at and go, oh, that's got to be from space, when really it was, a Tesla car or something.
Listen, Rob and I flew different platforms. He flew F-16s. He actually flew A-10s as well,
Wow.
and I flew F-14s. And I remember when we went to combat, we got things on an airplane that I wasn't familiar with, and so there's things out there that we just don't all know about.
I know you're in your own
That is
way.
a digression.
And
you know what? I guarantee you there's one thing I do
You're
guarantee
trying to tell me that they're here, but I get it.
you will see none of them at Bowman Field this weekend. I can tell you that. Yeah,
You'll see some things you don't understand.
You'll see some things that you've never seen before. There's no doubt, right? Yeah.
Weeping Willow.
But
I digress.
you will see something you've never seen at Bowman Field, though. I mean, that is something that's going to be pretty cool this weekend.
Well, let's get back to the Bowman Field
what a
thing.
segue.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, that's
nice. All right, enough of Fox Mulder and
I might get to keep my clearance after all. That's great. Yeah.
it's this Saturday, 10 a.m. to
Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday. I see military people, veterans, active military are free. How much of this is a military type theme, or is it?
It's an aviation theme.
Okay,
It's
it's
an aviation.
all right, okay.
And we're proud of the military heritage.
Yeah, we're saluting the troops.
Gotcha.
And
Louisville has a military reserve unit that flies.
Okay.
And they're going to bring one of their airplanes in.
So they'll be
it's a
part
rare
of
thing.
the-
They'll be part of the event.
Right.
The 123rd Airlift Wing, York, Kentucky Air National Guard, will be flying a C-130 in. They're going to do some practice stuff, but they come in on Friday. This is a big 4-engine transport. First time it's going to come into Bowman Field. This is going to be awesome.
Wow.
All of us can't wait to see how this works out, right? But they'll be there. They'll be showing their aircraft off. It'll be a great thing, and it'll be the first time that they've done that. These are local guys. They fly out of Stanford, and they represent the bluegrass everywhere across the globe. They've done operations in Africa, in the Middle East. Great group of guys and gals.
Commander or Deputy Commander David Flynn, who will fly in, he'll be on the right seat, but he'll fly in. He learned to fly at Bowman. His son flies at Bowman through some of the flight training over there, so it keeps the legacy going. But let me tell you a little bit about the military real quick. If not for the military, Bowman Field would not be the footprint that it is today.
Right.
Bowman, the Army Nurses Program, which was a wildly successful program in the 40s for World War II, they trained nurses, they put nurses on DC-3s, they flew nurses into combat to get the wounded out. And their record of bringing guys out is unprecedented to this day. The ladies went in there, they suited up, they went into harm's way, and they got the boys out. And that's unheard of. And that was all based in Louisville, and we're working hard based out of Bowman to maintain that. And there'll be displays at the festival of the nurses program, and Jesse Flynn with his group is going to be there. And we got to mention our sponsors. Humana Military stepped up; they're doing a great job. And we've got IPA, Four Roses, several of the other companies that have stepped up to
Premier
really make this
Caregiver
possible.
Services.
Yeah.
That was next question is sponsors and type of vendors. What kind of entertainment
gosh.
besides?
Yeah.
You got music.
Candles.
You got music.
Trevor.
It's all
We
the
do
Send
have
in
music.
Trevor.
We've got a good lineup of music actually. The probably some groups maybe you haven't heard of before. A lot of them do some period music.
Ladies for
but
Liberty.
we've got Ladies for Liberty are coming out. The Derby City Dandies will be there. Hickory, which is more of a bluegrass group, is coming out. They're going to close up each day for us with live entertainment. And then in between that, we'll have some announcers talking about the different planes and directing you and what you need to look at, and maybe talking about some things you need to know about the cars and the planes and the activities that are going on around the show.
Any type of aerial show going on?
It is not it is known as a static air show. So the idea here is that you get inside, and then you'll be able to get up close to the planes.
We're going to have airplanes that are giving rides, which is very unusual. But as far as like an air show, there's not going to be a Thunder over Louisville footprint. But we're going to have quite a few from discovery flights up to flights on a 19.
No planes from Area 51, right?
I don't know.
I've been told there are surprises. I don't know.
We are going to have the Ford Tri-Motor, which is from the late 20s, early 30s. We're going to have a B-25 bomber that you can get rides on.
You don't have room for all this?
We're going to find.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
the MASH helicopter.
Have you been to Bowman?
Listen, I was the other day for a driver's license thing, but I didn't get the full tour.
That's the other side.
But
I love. I mean, people are asking me, hey, tell me about the air show. We will have more people lined up to watch those people take off and fly,
Sure.
even though they're not flying stunts.
Right.
Just some of these airplanes, I mean, these are antique airplanes that are coming back from, pre-World War II to through World War II and up to the present. And I think that's one of the fascinating things that we do that separates us from just a static show is we have quite a few different ways that you can get in airplanes and go flying around.
What's the oldest plane we have? Is it the Tri-Motor?
Is definitely.
some people reading my head.
Well, that's because the Area 51 stuff that we got going on here, right? We've learned how to do that mine. Yeah, the Tri-Motor will be there. Here's a thing about history.
Well, again, how's the oldest?
The 1928 Ford Tri-Motor. Here's the thing that's interesting that people may or may not realize, but if you're into history and aviation, the cool thing about coming to see where these aircraft fly is, besides seeing them fly, which is neat, you get to hear them fly,
my gosh,
right?
yeah.
And the sounds of those engines, those radial engines, it's just such a different sound and everything. And you are stepping back in time when you see the B-25, the TBM Avenger, or that Ford Tri-Motor flying. And if you go fly on one of those things, you are going back in time to do that.
It's an experience of a lifetime.
What we learned today, we've been working hard to get a good series of planes in for a good experience, for the Bowman experience. Are you familiar with Bowman Field? If you looked over and saw the old gray, the silver plane that's known as the drug plane. It's not a drug plane, but it sits over there, and it's the icon of the field. It's been over there forever and ever.
Is that Escobar's plane?
As far as you know, it is.
We tell the newcomers that's the plane that flew the Bluegrass Conspiracy.
It's got the folklore.
Actually, that was really from Area 51. It was flying in special materials.
Yes.
The reason I bring that up is this team's worked hard to get a flying version of that into Bowman Festival this year. And that is unprecedented. I don't think it's ever been here. So I'm not sure everybody that walks through the festival will understand exactly what we have, but we work hard to be sure, this whole team does, to be sure we provide the best experience for the people that are willing to come in the gates the few times a year they can do that.
Wow.
2 days.
Exciting.
How long? I'm curious. How long was this in the making? How long did it take you to plan something?
We started meeting in January of this year, but we started originally up about a year out.
Yeah, talking about it after the end of the last one.
Over, we're already working on the 100th anniversary, which is 2020. So as soon as this festival closes, we'll debrief for a day or two, and then we'll be right back at next year's.
And
similar to what the Thunder guys do.
We love Thunder. We're all a part of it. We all work Thunder to some degree, and it's a great show to see the aircraft fly. The difference for our festival is you can come touch the aircraft, right? You can come out, see it, touch it, smell them, talk to the pilots, the whole 9 yards. And you can ride in them, that's right.
And I got to give a shout out to the Regional Airport Authority because they have been really helpful to us this year to lower the barriers to entry, allow us to do some things. For example, the C-130 would never have been able to be in if not for the team at the Regional Airport Authority today. They want to support aviation. They're here. They're the good people. We're working hard to make this happen. So you got to call out to those guys too.
Well, that and putting the run on the field, having the run finish on the runway. Yeah, there's that other thing going on too.
All right, 2 more questions.
The redheaded stepchild.
Was the moon landing fake?
Well, when I was there a month
the
ago,
question?
it was all that stuff. Yeah.
Still okay, and the Earth is not flat.
Well, listen,
Well,
the Earth is flat. So I saw that.
Depends on your perspective.
Pat and I were here at the zombie walk, a month ago, right? And there was a guy there's a whole group of people talking about the Earth is flat. And I'm just going, okay,
good
dude.
God.
Well, I have so many questions for them. So if it's flat, right? How do you go from the top flat to the bottom flat, right? I mean, because then technically it's not flat, right? Because if you go around the thing, it's not. And then
Those make for some fun.
I feel like those groups are here just to make you ask those questions.
poke the bear.
I know, and luckily the zombies distracted me, so I was able to bypass the whole thing. But
That happens all the
the
time.
cool thing is that, and I know Jeff has whatever, but we've been up high enough to where you actually see the curvature of the Earth.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
unless it's
There you go. See?
affecting our vision in some way, yes, the Earth is not flat. We're pretty confident of that.
Hey, we
The moon
talked
thing,
about-
though, that's still a crapshoot. We don't know. Yeah.
Before we have one question for you.
Go for it.
What's your favorite podcast crew so far?
Oh,
Man, it might not even be close.
You haven't had the flat Earth yet.
You put it this way: you guys have carte blanche to come back on again.
Good. We'll come back in a half an hour when the burlesque girls come back. That's right.
9 o'clock. Yes.
Kevin will come back with Tailspin in February.
Promote the next event.
Well, you and I have got some stuff we'll be talking because we've got a lot of projects that I would love to.
Beautiful.
Again, third annual Bowman Field Aviation Military Festival, Heritage Festival. This Saturday and Sunday, Bowman Field, presented by Humana Military and Bowman Field. Family for $20, $10 per person, under 16, 5, under 5 free. All veterans, military, free with ID. Guys, y'all came on.
10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
10 a.m.
both
Okay,
days.
both days.
And the
Yes.
weather's going to be nice.
That's
Come
what I
on
hear.
out. Yeah.
Hot and sunny.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Great
my
segment,
friend.
guys. And
Thanks so much.
lots of luck, and we got to do it
This year's
again.
next
Thank you,
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Awesome. Yay!
Let's get busy.
All right, guys, Kevin Hale here. Next segment of the night here at Baxter's 942. Chea K. Hey, Chea K Woolfolk, who is involved with a lot of stuff. A couple of things I know she's involved with: Heart and Mogul Network Radio. N.I.T Nothing Is Taboo, the show.
Yeah.
What else are you involved with?
Well, I have Chea Media, and with that, I publish CKW, the Chea K Woolfolk magazine. And the purpose of the magazine is to make sure that everybody gets a chance to be heard. Really, that's the purpose of all my platforms. Because, if we don't have a certain look, or we don't act a certain way, or fit in a certain media box, nobody really wants to hear. There are more people discounted every day than not. So I felt like, let's give those folks a voice. So with the magazine, it started off, we're 2.5 years old. And the first issue, blew me away when I had 50,000 downloads. You can tell.
Holy hell.
I was like, I can't. I was strutting around. And now we're at the point we average 15 million views, downloads, and impressions per issue.
Throw that in my face.
But my background's marketing
Okay.
before media.
All right.
And I was like, and my thought was, what about all the folks out there who are not seeing people that look like them, who are
Right.
not reading stories that they can connect with?
Right.
Let me find them.
And you're
so
finding.
that's all over the globe. And so I call the magazine an eclectic lifestyle brand,
Right.
because I didn't want to put it in a body. I didn't want to say, oh, it's a fashion magazine, because this month may not be a lot of fashion. I didn't want to say it was a woman's magazine, because no. It's a lifestyle, and it's just an eclectic blend. 'Cause
So
I'm
I
like
guess
that.
that's a misnomer. Your demographic right away is not to the female persuasion.
It's to everybody.
Okay.
The world is made up of more than just women. It's made up of more than just one race, more than just one culture. And when we start boxing ourselves in too much, our message doesn't get heard.
I'm with you. Totally agree.
So, it's been a good. I do some producing and production and I partner with LGTV and some different ones because there are a lot of folks. I come across some great show ideas, and they may not have budget. So I say, let's see
Right.
what we can do. So we're venturing into that. So that I'm really excited about.
So is all this local? Do you have any of your shows that? Well, I know you're branching out past the Louisville area, but go ahead.
You know, my motto is the goal is never local, it's always global. And even when I launched the magazine, I caught a lot of flack, I still do. And I'm a Louisville girl at heart. I will always be that hashtag Louisville girl at heart. But, I felt like if we can make the platform bigger, if you have a product or a story and I put it on my platform, you're going to be exposed to more than just Louisville. So, to be honest, out of all the support I get and views, and most of them come from everywhere but here. Maybe about 1% comes from Louisville.
All right.
But I'm always here. But I always spotlight,
Louisville's home. That's your home base, right?
Got to. And I spotlight the folks doing good work and who are out here trying to make a difference, small businesses, to make sure that they can get, Louisville come up. I got to make sure I show some love.
Represent.
That's right.
Exactly. How long you been? When did you get this media bug?
Okay, the media bug, it was, for me, the media bug was 2015. And at that time, I was in the beverage industry. Marketing's my background.
Okay, gotcha.
And I was vice president of a particular company. And I was also coming out of a very bad relationship due to domestic violence.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And, I believe everything happens for a reason.
Okay.
It's all in how you approach it. And I could literally been to the hospital. I am still bloody, got food on me. I still got the hospital. And my phone rings. And it was one of my first new opportunities. And it was somebody that called and said,
While you were there?
I had just gotten home. I slept. I'm still covered. I got blood. I got a hospital. Got a mess. And the phone rang. I looked, but I recognized it.
Yeah.
And they were telling me, we've been waiting for you to leave that situation so we could work with you. Now, I'll say that it was a marketing opportunity, but I ended up becoming their host for that year. It was Soul Lounge, Louisville, Kentucky. So I've hosted some great names. From Walter Beasley to the stage to Stokely Williams to Layla Hathaway, different ones.
I am not worthy.
But everything happened. And this was like in this first year. But also during this time, I get a call a few days before my birthday.
Which is coming up, by the way.
And it was, would you like to have your own radio show? I was like, well, I guess. Who is this? And it was a network out of St. Louis. They had interviewed me and had me come back a few times on a couple of their shows. And that's how I got the first show. And then it became the highest rated show on their network out there. So I would travel back and forth. I would broadcast from here. Yeah. They had everything set up.
Was this radio or how's it?
They did their sister stations, terrestrial radio there. Okay. But then they also did internet and blog talk radio.
Right.
So it went all over. And I enjoyed it. And it was like, la.
So you're a Blog Talk Radio alum, or do you still deal with Blog Talk Radio?
Yeah, well, I still have my heart Mogul on it.
Yeah, okay.
But that came from folks telling me, I would meet people, and they would say, I had this show idea, but because I didn't have this and that, I couldn't. And I'm like, man, that's not right. There's some awesome talent out there.
A lot, yeah.
There's some folks out there, I've had women come up to me and tell me their story. They'll start singing on the street, or guys that spoken word or whatever. It's just so much talent. And I felt like if I could put that out there, put that positive, I could negate some of the negative we got going on. Because we have so much. I have days I can't watch TV. I'm going to be, I have to, if I don't.
I'm with you.
Yeah, if I don't unplug, I would have a bad,
right,
I have to. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So I'm trying to think, is that all I'm doing now? Yeah, I think. Oh, and then of course I have my charity of choices, who I work very close with, and I sit on the board and have my.
So you're giving back and you're paying forward. You're doing your thing, right?
FEAT, Family Effective Autism Treatment. My son is autistic. My son is special needs. Yeah. And I tell people, we are just a year and about 4 months out of the wheelchair. My son will be 8 in a couple of days.
Wow.
And I tell people, my son taught me patience, and he taught me what really matters.
I have to give a shout. I have a daughter who's going to school for that field, special needs,
really?
And she's I've seen her interact with kids with autism, and it melts my heart. Well, the kids, they're so beautiful. The kids, and they're just that. Yeah, it's a moment, and that's when when you see my own how they interact. It's
and
proud.
It takes a special heart.
It does. Patience and all this stuff. I'll have to connect because I think y'all will hit it off too. But
it takes a special heart, and then that's important. And I felt like when I went through, multiple surgeries, spinal surgery, hospital, but that was our life. Therapy 5 days a week, and that was another thing that it shifted me. And so I've learned through my own challenges what's important and what matters. And as I approach this 44th year,
You don't sweat the little
Right.
the bullshit.
I'm
You
like,
don't. Yeah.
And people are blowing up over crazy stuff.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't change that.
No.
What's the matter to you? It has nothing to do with your life.
Right.
And some things are just not even worth it. And don't get me wrong, I am a huge one. You know, my grandfather told me silence is acceptance. So I'm a huge person on speaking out for wrongs and stuff. But you gotta know, is it
Silence.
wrong?
That's a great line. It is,
I remember him telling me that, and it's always stuck with me. He said, you sit there silently, but he also taught me, sometimes what you do, he said, some people think they gotta be loud and boisterous.
You gotta still listen.
Right.
You gotta listen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you could be the person that dials the phone,
Right.
that connects these two people. So I'm huge on connecting folks. It's not always for me to be in the mix of what you're doing. It's just I met you. Oh my God, y'all be great together. Because you know, if it's meant for me, I'll get it.
Right.
And then I've seen a lot of folks who don't think that way, and I've seen people mistreat.
You're a gatherer.
Oh, I'm gonna put that on t-shirt.
No, seriously, it sounds like you are.
I like that.
And that's a good thing. And this is one thing, you know, with the way things are today. And I'm not going to try to get too political here, but this administration. Sorry, I'm going to piss off, you know, those people. They enable a lot of this divide we have, and you got a lot of people. What blows me away is that I can have, this is social media, and they're all quote unquote badasses on social media. They like to talk the talk, but, you know. But I can have 9 things that we totally agree on, but as soon as I challenge their views or question their comments or something about Trump or then it's like, F you, Kevin. I mean, it's like, good God. But they feel enabled. They feel like they can just say what they want. But see, here's the thing. Again, I'm this country, I still struggle because there's a lot of racial divide in this country. And it's always been there. But now it's like they got a voice for it. So, you know, let's go with that. Any experiences like that? How is it? Because, here's the thing. 6 people of color who are successful tend to rub the non-color the wrong way. And go ahead, jump in.
You know, it's and like I tell folks, it's funny. Again, I really believe that how our lives flow, and that's my faith tells me that there's a reason. So my family's completely racially everything.
Right.
So I tell folks, I'm probably the most non-racist person you're gonna meet. But do I know it exists? Oh my God, yes. If I experienced it, oh my God, yeah. You know, my grandson's biracial, and my daughter's a darker complexion. She looks just like me. She's dark complexion.
So she's stunning as well.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm gonna have to tell her. That's my baby. She'll be 24. That's my oldest. And she's experienced some stuff now, and her significant other is Caucasian. It's not an issue for her. It's not an issue for us. That's how life.
No, it is.
But she's had people say things, and then she's even had people approach her in the mall and say, "Whose baby do you have?" And first of all, my grandson, I say he looks just like me. She say he looks just like her. But we'll let that slide for the evening. Whose baby is that? And I had to explain. I said, people, there are just different perceptions. I said, folks, and I agree with you about. I always say Trump gave folks backbone. Yeah. They took a deep breath and said, "Oh, look what I can say now." And that's why you're seeing so much stuff on social media.
Right.
At the same time, there's a good and a bad side to that. Because I'd much rather know the enemy next to me than be confused and think it's a friend. Yeah. So I'd much rather know if I'm surrounded by folks with that view.
No, that's a good point.
Than to think that I'm safe and I'm not. But it's sad that in 2018, we still have that. But racism is weaved into the very fabric of our country. And I tell folks, and there's a word that very seldom used, coon. And I try to explain to them, I said, actually, cooning means entertaining your oppressor. So when we argue amongst ourselves, we're entertaining the oppressor. I said, when you have another race arguing amongst themselves, and then when we're arguing with each other, we're entertaining. I said, so we're all cooning. I said, we're all, because what we're not doing is focus on the issue. We're too busy arguing. Right. People don't want to have an honest dialogue. They don't want to have that conversation. I have relatives who, I've never experienced. Well, you haven't, but I have. Right. You're on one side, I'm on the other. And, had a cousin. And this broke my heart. The kid's first brush with racism, having a sleepover. This has been a few years ago. And that's why I told him, you need to talk to her. One of the little girls called and said, I can't come to your house. She said, wow, well, my daddy said I can't come there because your daddy's a this and that. She bless her heart. Kids were so cute. She was like, what is that? What is daddy? She didn't even realize. She doesn't even see this difference.
That's the flippin' sad part of life, is that a lot of this it's learned behavior, and it starts at home. Yeah, I'm talking about you adults out there that have to somehow, and and we get it. It's generational stuff, but all I can hope for is that kids eventually get past all that stuff, and
kids are so innocent.
And they
it's
are
something to see them. Kids.
And they're born of love too, and then they learn hate, and they learn all this. But anyway, all right.
And to me, that's child abuse. If you teach your kid hate, because you are really setting
that is
them
a
up
form.
for some,
I'm with you. It is a form.
Life to teach a child. You take their innocence
bad
away.
Freaking parenting.
The moment you do it, you literally take their innocence away.
I got asked to stay in a little political. I want your take. Hashtag Me Too. Your thoughts on that? Because I'm telling you what, that is it is a freaking kind of a wave going on.
It's short. Now, I am a survivor of domestic violence, sexual assault. So I know it exists. I know rape culture is huge.
It is
all
power.
Races.
It is power.
Yes.
It is not. It's not sexual predators, or it's not. It's a power. It's a power trip.
But folks don't understand it. And they get so caught up, and it's because there's this. I'm like, no. First of all, I said it can be. This person can look like this. This person can look. I said it has nothing to do with that. It's all a this.
Right, yeah.
And what bothers me with the Me Too movement, because I want women to, I want any victim.
Right.
And I've run across a lot of men, and I did a piece on, in the African American culture, a lot of men who don't speak up on the sexual assault then grow up to be angry men, violent men, because it's frowned upon.
Well, they don't speak up that they witnessed, or
that
like
they were even victims.
All victims.
Because there's that, don't say that, don't think. And I can take it further than just an African American, all men.
No,
because
I think so. You're fair. That's fair.
For men, you're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be that, and it's sad. But again, there's that rape culture, that you can't tell someone that they can't feel victimized if they've been a victim. So when it comes to the Me Too movement, I definitely support and want to see women speak up. Now, do I think the justice system needs to be streamlined? Oh my God, yes. First of all, a lot of stuff was written based off musket guns, and
don't even get me started
with
there.
people were eating using
God,
ground acorns for coffee. So that's a long time ago.
Ground acorns, that's a first here, but well, no, I knew it, but we have never discussed that here. But yeah.
But I mean, so things, the world has changed, society has changed, people have changed. I think that the justice system, one, it needs to be swift, but I understand also as a victim the fear of you don't want to speak up because you're going to be ridiculed. You're going to question if people are going to believe you because of how society treats victims. So then you're quiet for years. Now you've got this woman or this man walking around with this hurt for 15, 20 years. So they are hurt people.
Right.
So, we have these cycles going on. And the sad thing is, because people don't feel comfortable even saying, I've been hurt,
no,
they become victimized again.
That's a good point. And, and then today, and I'm still staying a little political here, but when you have our president make a statement, his quote was, "It's a very scary time for young men in America." I was like, are you kidding me?
And he was serious when
he is very serious, because that's a guy who has had everything handed to him, and basically has been able to get anything he wants. So, yeah, probably for him back in the day, he should be afraid. And you know what the thing is he is afraid of the stuff that's coming out. But when you make a statement like that, you're defending. It's like you're defending the male who has this.
It's been something these last couple of days watching the Kavanaugh, and I'm just, and again, that is seeing people victimized again. And for me, when I hear the current president give his little speeches, I say he's campaigning, folks. I say he's campaigning to his core. I said he's not ever going to have to leave that White House and go on a campaign trail. He's campaigning now. I say he gave his followers a backbone, and now he's just speaking directly to them.
No, you're right.
And it just blows my mind when I see how many women vote for him. That's a whole nother thing.
That's crazy.
Because I'm like,
and they stand by him still over this, storming everything.
And I'm like, he said, so he condones this type of behavior.
Well, I'm sparring with someone on social media who, this was clearly someone on the right, someone who supports Trump, who is calling these accusers in the Kavanaugh thing liars and stuff. And why wouldn't she have said this 30 years, blah, blah, blah. So, and the one of the obvious responses is so how did you react when these little kids, after 30 years, confessed or came out and said their priests molested them, and then they they don't have an answer. Well, there were, no, it is the same thing. I mean, it's a whole psychological, you're demeaned, because a lot of people feel like, what did I do to deserve? Did I do something to put me in? And that's
that amazes me when people can say.
I've got kids, I've got daughters, so it's like no. Don't,
and then you cannot. How I react to something will not be how you react.
Right.
That's the thing, that cookie cutter reaction. And that is really doing our nation a disservice, but it is so prevalent, and it also helps shield these abusers, and they love that.
Oh, yeah.
So many people walking around saying they're for justice and are not. They are literally helping people be victimized.
Yeah, okay. Enough politics. Let's get back to your stuff. We touched on, give us right now, what projects are you actively involved with that, you want to share?
Well, it's a constant, I always call it constant Chea media grind. And they laugh at me. They say, you're always at work. I said, I guess how everything feeds into it some way. But, the magazine is bi-monthly. So I'm always sourcing stories, and I have a lot of contributing writers. And one of the things I do is a spotlight section. And I like to spotlight events and shows and anything that I don't think big media will go for. And like I did I covered Eric Kimbrough did a comedy show. Excellent. I mean, sold the Caravan.
Yeah.
It was all that. So I got, I wrote a piece. I said, I'm coming to cover it, and I'm going to make sure you get a featured piece. Right. Because I felt like he deserved it, put all that work in. So, for me, it's a labor of love, but it has a mission. I do 30% of the advertising. I always give pro bono to small businesses or nonprofits or charities. Because of my marketing background, I know what it's like to have a dream, but only have $1,000 in the bank, and you're trying to make a business run. Right. You don't have $1,500, $2,000 to hand over just to run ads. Right. So, it served me well. The magazine is free, because I didn't want to charge folks for an opportunity to get something new in their life. And I just figured it would all pan out in the wash. So, I'm constantly working on that. I do hope at this time next year, I will have handed some of the magazine over, because as of right now, I'm editor, and I do have a general manager, and I've signed with management for myself. So that's taking a load off. But
Well, everything you're describing, you're doing, my word for that is control freak. But that's me too. I have to have control.
I still like control.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just, you have this vision, you have this, where you want it to go, and is it been hard to relinquish some of that?
Yes.
Because it's still your baby and babies.
It's mine, and I have, I do this thing called #edit when needed, and it comes from
hashtag what?
#edit when needed,
gotcha. Yeah.
And it's because you have the right to edit your life how you see fit. Because so many times we're told, don't say that. Oh, don't do that. You can't do it. Because it's your life. I don't know what your vision is. I don't know what that ultimate end goal is. Right. I may know what you tell me. And see, I'm a person, I'm like you, I got to have control. And there is nobody walking the earth, short of my mother, who actually knows 100% what my end goal is. You may know that. Now, my general manager knows he has rocked me for a while, but even he doesn't know. And I tell people, guard your vision, because it's yours. I've had people come in and try to do some real crazy thing. I'm talking Tyler Perry movie stuff. But I've learned that it's mine. I got to guard it. So when it came time to start relinquishing, I had to do some soul searching, even when it came to getting management. I'm represented by Lakeith Entertainment, and the reason I want to shout them out is they do an excellent job, and I love them. I love them. I love them for what they do. Matter of fact, they represent me and DJ Chaos and some others.
As in
Keith Pepper.
Yeah. Okay.
It's been one of the best decisions I made.
He's based out of.
He's in Columbus.
Yeah. Okay.
But he's from here.
Yeah.
So he was just here. He'll be back this weekend. Okay. For me, I watched other folks in the industry when they went management, and I'd watch some debacles. I was sitting just really watching what I liked, and then I started making lists. What did I really like? What don't I like? How do I want? And then I did a couple things with it, and then I got really tired. I think God let me get exhausted. I'm talking, go to the doctor exhausted. Gotcha. And that's when I said, okay, I got it. What do I want to hand over? I knew I wanted to let that go. And once I did that, I was like, okay, Then my general manager, give them a little bit more stuff. So, I'm there. I'm not going to hand over control, but I can delegate now without being that lady who's got to call you every 10 minutes. What did you do? Did you go and buy files? Because I can't get that. I can be real anal about stuff. I can be controlling.
I'm sitting there in my head thinking, well, what would a day like be to be with you, to be your sidekick for a day?
Well, now, if you're my sidekick, but they're putting you to work, you'll probably quit after about 4 or 5 hours because they're like, she doesn't take a break. I still am a mother and a grandmother. I still,
You're keeping it real.
I still got to, run a household and multiple facets of the business, but I've learned to appreciate my time. And I did a thing, I have a life coach, had me do this time audit, is what I dubbed it. He was just like, I want you to go through and be honest about your time. And so when I came up with a system, you just go in and you literally, for about a week, and I gave folks this assignment last week on the show, write down everything you do. Then you look at it honestly and say, where am I spending time? What don't I need to be focused on? You're going to find you spend a lot of time on social media because that was one of my things. I hired social media management. That can't be managed. Okay. That is one. Let me just say, that is hallelujah. That is a godsend.
I've not got there yet. Maybe one day I can have I'd probably be like my daughter or something. It would probably.
It's just, it's nice not to have to answer everybody's little, because that's me, especially when I'm getting into a debate, I really got to have my say. Right. Then I had to realize, that's not really important. So that's where the stuff with my son came in. That taught me everything doesn't need a response. So, I always tell people I'm a work in progress. So my days, I get up, my alarm goes about 4:30 in the morning. And I'll still lay there for about 45 minutes.
4:30 in the morning, really?
Well, first kid was getting up at 5 something. I had to get her off. I have one in high school. I have one that'll be 17. So I've got 3, but 2 at home.
My youngest will be 17 this month.
Okay.
Or October, this month. Yeah.
All right,
so,
October.
Where do you go to school? Curious.
She's an Eastern.
And
Ballard,
she's,
that's my sidekick right there. She's my nonchalant, don't want no part of the public life. She's real chill. Like if she was sitting here now, she would just you can't even really rile her up. My son, he's like he's everywhere. So that, and I've learned that making sure that I schedule my day out. And put time in there for me and the kids. And also, one of the things that I started to do, I leave my computer at work. If I don't have to take it home, I leave it sitting on the desk.
What about your phone?
Well, no, the phone is, I got 2 phones. Yeah. There's another one in my purse. But that's my personal phone, which for some reason everybody has this number, and I have the work. So I'm trying to transfer everybody. So we put things into motion to start transferring folks over to the pages that are managed by social media. The phone that's a business phone, where people, my office, and like Big Red on the 5 Heartbeat, my office hours are 9 to 5. And I don't want to have to hang you over the balcony, so my office hours are from 9 to 5.
Do you really stay true to that?
I have. In the last few weeks, I have really gotten into that habit. Because then I started to kind of enjoy myself because I'm like, ooh, okay, at least when I go home, I don't have to worry. If I want to sit there and binge on Netflix, and I am a Netflix fanatic.
You've said you make time for yourself, your kids. Is there inquiring minds out there might want to know? Is there a less significant other? What's going on there?
No. I'm nice to all my boyfriends. No, I'm joking. No,
one for each day of the week.
No, I am single. You know what? I had a guy ask me out, and I knew him, and I dated him long before. And this was some months ago, and it was so funny. And at the last minute, I said, I'm coming. I said, but I need to leave about an hour early because I have a party I need to make an appearance at. The person doing the party was a friend.
They didn't fly?
They didn't fly. I was like, are you crying? Oh, are you okay? I mean, it was too much. And my schedule is hectic.
Did he not... But he knew your line of work, everything you're involved with.
And I was like, dude, calm down. But that turned me out really quick. I don't have time for that.
You don't,
So, I mean, finding that person who could deal with my schedule, because for me, it's normally always work. There's nothing crazy. Even when I'm, whether it's a concert or show, whether I'm sitting backstage, it's work.
And you touched on this earlier, and I would be curious to know how much you can say of this. Do you have an end game? What is your end game?
My end game. The end game is to be the lady who owns the platforms that puts you on. I mean, you can get an entertainment contract and I pay you $20 million, but if I'm paying you $20 million, what do you think I'm making?
Yeah, exactly.
I modeled my business after Oprah. I like that. I love the way Steve Harvey modeled his. Kevin Hart has an excellent business model. My goal is, I want. If I produce your show, I got to have an executive producer credit. I got to have money on the back end. Those are the things I want. And I want to retire by the time I'm 54. My goal.
That's what, 20 years?
That's 10 years from now. You're so sweet, Kevin. Thank you. I have to take you out to Burger King. But because I don't want to have to. Now, if I'm working after, it's because I want to. But I want it to be something where there's something that my children will have.
Right.
You know, they can work if they want to. I don't know. They're not too keen on my son. Oh, he's down for whatever. Yeah, he can get up here right now talking about Lord knows what. The girls in, but I think that may change.
Well, I'll tell you, the truth is, with what you do, kind of what I'm doing here, I just think some of the best things to do with people is to have good conversation. And there is always something I could learn or try to see in a different way. I'm not always right. Oh, it hurts to say that a little bit, but no, I'm still learning. And you know, with all this the BS that's still going on today, conversation is healthy.
Yes.
And you know, and again, I'm listening to you, and I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. You're clearly a gatherer, so you're getting people together, and what you're doing, I think, is, you know, I think your intentions are good, and you're paying forward. You're, you know, I like everything you're doing. No, it's that's not just a cheesy little line, but
You want me to take you to Burger King?
still, well, yeah. Well, I want the supersize. All right, okay. What other projects in the near future do you have lurking?
Well, I have a show. It's called Kickback Chats, and that's in partnership with LGTV. So we're working on getting the final stages. We've already filmed.
Partner with who?
LGTV.
Oh, okay.
D. Johnson does my media.
Right.
And, you know, I'm a person that if you rock with me now, we're going to rock. You know, because I never did understand folks that want to kick everybody to the curb when they start doing, you know, if you've sown into my dream, you know, as long as it's not an issue and everybody's trustworthy, I don't see a problem thus taking steps further. So that show is all about just sitting back and having a conversation, because I believe that everybody's got a story. Because see, there's a reason why you do what you do, and if I was interviewing you, we're going to get to why. You know, it could be something that happened you know, when you were a child. Everybody has a backstory, and I believe that is where conversation, that understanding, that is important, because once you understand why somebody's doing something, it can change your view on it.
Absolutely.
And so that's what Kickback Chats is about. Really, all the shows are kind of based on that. But Kickback Chats was the visual thing that I wanted people to come in and be comfortable. I learned there's an artist on stage, and what happened was I got scooped on a story. I had the exclusive interview with a particular jazz artist, but there was this local media. They just knew they were going to get it. And I said, no, go ahead and let them. And I watched, because what I saw was a man who had just performed 77 minutes on stage and just played his heart out. They didn't. Everybody was trying to get, and I just sat there. Now, when everything was over, and I had introduced me, so I'm supposed to have an interview with you. And I said, well, you know, I know she was tired, and you had a lot of both. They got 5 minutes, I got 2 hours. Right. And I still keep it. And I watched, and I said, you know what? No matter what a person does, no matter what their craft is, they're still a human being. And so I like to take my time, talk to folks who really get their story. Everybody gets those canned questions. But when you start asking, why do you do this? I mean, I remember interviewing Benny J. He was performing, and I told him my son was autistic. The interview took a turn, and he was telling me about how he struggled with math as a child, and that's what made him pick up the saxophone and music.
See, that to me, that's what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, that's a real moment where you're tapping into something, and
I had no clue. And then when he told me, and I said, you know, and then of course it made me think, just as a mother with a child with autism, that creativity. You know, so I really like for folks to be able to tell their story. So that was where Kickback Chats is. So we're working on that, and that one will be a visual, and I actually want to sell that one to the network. So that's why instead of just putting it out there, I said, let's work on it. Because it's kind of my baby, and I conceived her. And the little animated me, little Shay, she's the animated host.
I like that. I do.
Well, you know, animation, you can say a lot animated that you can't say when you're not. Because I don't always have a filter. That's no secret.
Every show? Every
Well, it
platform?
depends. No, I have filters on most.
Okay.
when you start asking my opinion, now if you ever read my social media, I have my days.
I do. I see that.
Says, but everything is built into the brand. My quirks are built into my brand. My no filter days, they're a brand. Shay says, I mean, it's easier to be who I am than not to be somebody else. Right. So I just be me, and you got to either take it or you don't. I mean, what can I do? I'll blame it on my mama. She had me. She had me.
Bad parenting. We're all coming back to bad parenting. Well, tell us, as we in this social media, where can everybody connect with you and
well, of course,
continue this ride? Because this is a ride, and I do. I follow you on social media. I'll check in periodically to, because to me, this is how I see somebody like you, and there's a handful of people I do this to. I'll routinely drop in on their social media pages because I think I can get a message, something from something that you post. It will make me think, and to me, it's a good thing. I dilate, as I say, dilate your mind, expand that mind.
Thank you.
Social media.
Well, you can always go to www.SheaKWoolfolk.com. Keep up with all the latest Shay occurrences, as I call them. But yes, and a little Shay pops up when you go in there. But you can catch me on Facebook at the business page is The Real Shay, which is CHEA. Or you can just type in my name, CHEA. By the time you hit K, I'll pop right up. Like the page, follow the page. On Instagram is Shay74. And we've kind of changed our Instagram around, so it's all about giving you that motivational, so you get a lot of quotes from me. But everything I talk about the things I've experienced, and the edit when needed came from my last year, and I realized you got to edit some things in, edit some out. So, and LinkedIn, of course, LinkedIn, Google, everything is Chea K Woolfolk.
Right, very cool.
Chea K's the brand.
Thanks for hanging out with me. It's good stuff.
Thank you for having me.
I think everything, with all the stuff you're doing, we'll reconnect and do one of these again.
You got to let me interview you.
I
know I got questions.
All right. Thanks again, Ben.
Thank you.
All right, good stuff.
Let's get busy.
All right, guys, Kevin Hale here, continuing with our Shooting from the Lip on-site remote show at Baxter's 942 here in the Highlands of Louisville, Kentucky. It is Tuesday, October 2nd. Continuing with my man, Jesse Daniels. Jesse, it's been a long time.
It's been a while, but I'm absolutely stoked to be on the show. I appreciate the invitation to come and talk to you guys.
Tats, and you're just killing the look, man.
Man, I'll tell you, it's funny because I was an engineer for 14 years before we started diving into the company stuff. I didn't really fit in that well, but that being said, yes, love to work out, love tattoos, but I'm as nerdy as it comes, so it's a mixed bag.
Then we're going to have a good segment here.
Absolutely.
You were involved with a couple things you're involved with. IdealDigital, StayActive 502. Clearly, you got your hand in the community with some business ventures, and you've got some other things you got going on. But before we get to the business side, give us a little history. What's the Jesse Daniels story? Louisville all your life, or I mean, where was it?
So
after you were, you left the manger. You were born in the manger. Then what?
Sure. So I'll keep it short and sweet on this. But brought up in a military family. Yeah. My mom and dad met in the Marine Corps.
Nice.
Very nice, but if you know people that are in the military, it was a rough upbringing.
I'm sure. Yeah. Travel.
Yep. Yeah. Born and raised, Fountain Valley, California. Mm-hmm. Moved out to Louisville, I guess probably, close to 15 years ago.
Okay.
And that was for family stuff.
Right.
And so,
family, but military though, right?
Right.
So as a military, the reason why you moved out here.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. So I have a little brother that I had to help raise for quite a while. Okay. But, the reason that I really don't talk about that often is because you get, a sympathy feeling from people to say, okay, well, you were brought up, you were homeless at one point and, you didn't have your parents there and things of that nature, which, don't get me wrong, like, it's not advantageous in terms of being successful, but I will also say that, none of the stuff that I have right now would be possible had I not gone through those experiences.
Absolutely. Exactly, man. It's who you are.
I tell people this, and I'll tell you this story that I tell people all the time, is that, at one point when, things were really bad for me, I remember that I was sitting on the curb and this is when I was younger, and I would see these cars driving by, and I would think, man, like how awesome would it be to have a car, and you can leave and you can go anywhere and do anything you want to do whenever you want to do it, right? Where I was trapped in that situation. So, you know, now that we're in the position where, you know, like we're running these companies and we're being successful, and, you know, my humbleness, like my need to not want to, you know, show out or do any of those things, you know, to me, I think, you know what, dude, I have a car that'll take me where I want to go. Kia Optima, but great gas mileage, right? You know, like I have a house I can go lay my head down at night, and
Exactly.
you know, I'm satisfied with that. So, you know, the real success in my story has been that the people that I've been involved with have been taken care of exponentially, which a lot of companies, you know, if you work in a corporate industry, is not the way that works, right? You're getting paid, you know, a certain amount to deliver a product, and you know your worth, but it's never quite equating. But to me, you know, like I'm able to have these necessities that I didn't have when I was younger, which are more than enough for me.
Right.
And the people that I work with are absolutely brilliant, and they, you know, they deliver every time, and they don't need to be micromanaged. And I get to associate myself with people that I absolutely love working for and with. And to me, you know, that's what this entire venture has been about.
I think for anyone to really achieve success, you have to live and or accept some humility along the way.
Well, absolutely. And I tell people this a lot too. Like, this is one big misunderstanding that I think people have in this world, is that, you know, from a business owner, you know, people say, okay, you know, you own these companies, like you're making all this money and you're doing all these things. Like, let me tell everybody who's never ran a company, it is extremely expensive. Like, you are not making money for quite a long time. And one of the reasons we've been able to like be successful and to like make these companies grow is because as we have generated business and we've been able to make some money, everything has gone back into the company. Like, as long as I'm paying my rent, as long as I have my car, as long as, you know, like we're able to put food on the table, like we're good. Everything else goes back into the company. We're not out here trying to, you know,
this is long term for you.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, you know, like I tell people, if I'm stuck in the same situation I'm in right now, having a car, having a place I enjoy living, like being able to afford groceries and, you know, come out here and talk to you, like if this is it for the rest of my life, like I'm extremely satisfied because I've seen where it can be, and it's so much worse. So to me, that money goes back into the business. It goes to our customers. It goes to, you know, everything that makes us thrive for other people to be successful.
Good. Well, good for you. Well, man, that's keeping it real. Let's start with the IdealDigital.
Sure.
IdealDigital Louisville. What's that all about?
So we are a full service marketing company, and I'll give you a little brief background into our company. And, you know, I tell people this all the time as well, is that marketing companies are a dime a dozen. It's an oversaturated market. You may as well be a realtor if you're going to own a marketing company. But prior to opening IdealDigital, you know, I was an engineer for 14 years. You know, my business partner, you know, he was running.
Can I ask real quick, how old are you?
Just turned 31.
Oh, yeah. You got a long way to go, bro.
Long way to go. I will tell you, though, that coming up the way that I did and the ambition that I have, I did everything my way. And I will tell you, it was the wrong way 80% of the time. So I've been humbled by life about, you know, 10 times over in terms of all that. But, you know, at the same time, I also found a niche that I think is very important. And that's the people that aren't able to work in a corporate environment. Those that, you know, like see innovation and they see change and they see things that can be done better, but they're unable to because the companies they work for are not agile enough to do that, or they're too scared to change the status quo. And, you know, that was always my biggest hang up all the time, is that, you know, I feel like if you're going to have a job, any job, whether you own a company or work for someone, you have to be passionate about it. If you're going to be passionate about it, you have to be involved in researching and seeing the newest things and, you know, wanting to like learn how to implement and run those things in a corporate environment. I couldn't do that.
Right.
And so when IdealDigital came around, oddly enough, I actually went to the sales side. And I'll tell you a funny story. So I was actually a network architect, and I was working in Chicago.
Which is genius, actually. To go start there, but go ahead. Yeah. That's respect. I know where you're going with it.
Well, I appreciate that, because let's make the story even better. So, you know, obviously I had to work off production time, and, you know, I'll never forget that I would be awake when all the sales guys would come in, and they'd all be, you know, in these nice suits and nice shoes, and they'd be hungover and talking about how they were out with their clients the night before. And, you know, for me, like, I love technology, but I'm also a social person, right? Like, my last job, we literally had a padlock on the door that you had to have a code to get in, right? Like, there's no social interaction there. You know, every one of the guys that I work with, which I love and are brilliant, that I consider good friends, it's not like we communicated like you and I did, right? We would hop on Minecraft during lunch break or run some like CSGO, and you know, that's our communication.
Really are a nerd, aren't you?
Oh man, like you have no idea. If you ever want a Minecraft tip, you know, podcast, let me know.
You're the guy. All right.
But, you know, like I didn't fit into that mold, and I saw these sales guys who, you know, to be where I was from a technology standpoint, the certifications I had to attain, you know, the late nights, the coding, the problem solving, you know, and I had these guys who were, in no disrespect to sales guys, I do this now, but guys making 3-4 times my salary who were good at drinking.
Right.
You know, that's also something.
Or socializing.
Yeah, they're social people, and they know how to maintain a relationship. Those are things I also valued.
Right.
So, you know, I saw these guys coming in all the time, making all this money, and I thought, you know what, I want to go to the sales side. So I did that, and I worked for a small company, which was, you know, I will say, you know, no shade at anybody, because everything that's happened to me has put me in the position that I'm in now. But this company that I worked for it was a very small company, and you know, the management and the ownership was very shoddy at best. But the plus side was I took a lot of pride because I got to own a lot of the things that happened there, and at the same time I learned how, you know, business was ran, you know. And even this guy was successful in a degree that, you know, his passion was not what he was doing, I could tell. Right. So, you know, so I had the technology background. I see these guys who are doing sales. I go into what they call basically like I would go in and pitch the technology and sell it for them. Right. Saw how a business was ran, and then, you know, one day this guy calls me out of the blue and fires me. Right. So basically what happened was, you know, I lined up some good contracts. I brought in the best engineers in the city. Right. And then after that happened, right, I was let go. And I thought, you know, that'll be the last time I ever let this happen, you know, because I was already sacrificing so much to work in a corporate environment that I didn't even understand. You know, just the everyday, you know, filling a seat from 8 to 5 and, you know, like reporting and like your management, and, you know, what I saw from that is like, and I think the most valuable part of the entire thing was the expectations. Like, you know, when you're sitting in the seat and you have a manager who's, you know, giving you whatever you don't like, right? Like, you have to understand, like, what are their responsibilities to their leadership, and then vice versa. You know, what's the difference between reporting to someone who's running development and someone who's running the stakeholders? Vastly different. So, you know, able to see all those things, and I thought, you know what, like, I want to try and do this for myself, not because I know that I can, but because these bigger companies, these corporate companies, their biggest problem is like they have to play it safe because they have too much money to lose, right? So they can't be agile, and they can't adapt, they can't do these things. And I thought, you know, there are a lot of marketing companies who are out there, a lot of people who do what we do, website development, mobile app development, you know, SEO, like there's a lot of companies that do that. But there are no companies who are doing it with the most cutting edge technology. There are no companies who are doing it with the profit margins that we can produce for people. There's no one who's working with the most brilliant people that we can. And if you look at the guys that I work with now, like, you know, they're all tatted, right? Like we have tattoo guys, like, you know, we go out and have fun. We have parties, and like, it's not that corporate environment. And I tell people all the time, like, you can have as much fun as much as you can cover, right? So if you're covering and you're ahead for 2 days and you want to go out and have some fun for a couple of days, then have at it. As long as you're not overextending beyond what you can cover.
There's still, it's as long as you're meeting your objectives, the bottom line, and you're still keeping the business is the
absolutely.
You know, with IdealDigital, website design, SEO, web development, internet marketing. What's you know makes you stand out over?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, first off, I want to tell anyone who is interested in doing this themselves, like, it is an extremely brutal business to be in.
Yeah.
It's tough to get ahead, but I will tell you, you know, those 14 years of, you know, doing what I do and like giving 110%. When I announced that we were going to do IdealDigital, the second day, we had the 9th largest marketing company in the entire country reach out to me to do all of their website design, all of their SEO implementation, all of that. So I don't say that to brag, but what I say is that, without
It's not
that
bragging
ability,
if it's factual.
well, without like a client like that, without the abilities, I mean, it's extremely expensive. It's extremely strenuous, and even now, like it's really tough, because everything, like I said, everything we get goes back, and people talk to me all the time, well, why don't you get a new car? Or why don't you do all these things? Like, let me tell you, I haven't drawn a paycheck from IdealDigital in probably 6 months, right? Like, everything is like basically like get your bills paid, everything else goes back in. But I think the thing that makes our company different is that, first off, all of my partners have been in significant roles with major corporations. So we've seen how they do it.
Been there and done it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, I can say with 110% confidence, we do it much better. Our services are much better. Our customer service is much better. Our tools and the things that we bring to people are 10 times better. And, you can ask anybody that we work with, like, we deliver 110% because this is our passion. But instead of, being restricted by, having to get something passed by, an HR or 10 managers or whatever, like, we implement and we roll. I mean, that's what we do all the time, and that's what keeps us excited, and that's what keeps us coming to work every day. And it's not the same old grind in and grind out. I mean, like, every day we're getting new certifications and learning new types of code and new tools. And I mean,
but that's actually, you bring up a good point, because it is ever changing.
Absolutely.
And you're obviously, you have to stay on top.
Absolutely.
Of what's next, because.
And part of my friendship, we come into work every day, and I think, dude, this is badass.
Right.
We come in there and we show like these new back ends and these new tools and these new, like, our abilities to do these things. And I mean, it's absolutely insane. Like, I have the best coders in the city of Louisville who work for me. You know what I mean? Like, I tell people this all the time. They say, okay, you own these companies. Like, how in the world do you do that? And I tell people, do you ever go out and have some drinks with your friends and, like, you're drinking, you come up with this really great idea, and they're like, oh man, we should do that. We should launch a company doing that, right? Well, my boys do that, right? Like, we'll literally leave there, go to the office, go back to the house, whatever. We'll build a site, we'll build out the technology, like, I mean, it's so exciting. It's fun. Like,
so, but how does it fly when you're out and you got this incredible looking lady there with you, and then one of your guys comes up with this idea, and you got to look her in the eye, in those sad eyes, and say, sorry, I'm gonna have to cut this night short. We're gonna go do some work.
Well, I'll tell you, it's really easy to do. Number one, like, I have a girl at home, and she holds it down. And I'll tell you, like, well,
not you personally, but with the guys though, it's just, but so you have you're covered there, though.
So I'll say this. Like, I'm a very analytical person, and some people will like this and some people won't. But I'll say, 100 years ago, right, when a woman was looking for a man, right, like, what did a man have to do? They had to provide. They had to go out and hunt for food and cut down trees and build houses and do all these things. You don't have to do that nowadays, right? Like, who are the guys who do that?
Right.
The guys with money. So this is what I'll tell somebody first and foremost, is that if you make sure your business is good and your money is good, like, that's never going to be a problem.
Will all fall in place.
Right.
No, I'm with you.
Right. And I mean, from an analytical standpoint, you got to think about return on investment, right?
ROI, baby.
ROI. Like, I mean, I love being loved, and I love, all of that. But I mean, the return on investment's minimal. It's a risk. It's, like, I think we can all say, being, in the position we are, which, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, like, I live this, like, great life where, all I do is work and all I do is study, because,
you live a little too.
We live a lot, right? My business partners live a lot, and I think that it's a fine line that you walk all day. And again, you can have as much fun as long as you're covered.
You all are kids now. Y'all can do it. Y'all can, you burn that midnight oil. And
well, I'll tell you. Used to, yes, but I will say that the more that you're involved in a self-sustained ownership of something, and you see what it really takes to be successful, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, the cards are stacked against you 110%. Like, you realize what it takes to be successful in that, and I mean, that makes that really easy.
Yeah, responsibility, accountability. All right, StayActive 502. This online fitness training, what's this all about?
Absolutely. So, StayActive 502 was something we launched a couple of years ago. We're actually doing a relaunch on Monday, thankfully. But, basically the whole way this came about is that, I would be in the gym, and a lot of my friends were in the gym. Like, that's how I relieve my stress. And, this is a funny joke, because people, think all the time, like, oh, well, you know, like I don't have an Instagram, for example, right? And they expect me to like be posting shirtless selfies and all that. And I'm like, dude, my employees make me go to the gym, right? Because I wake up every day. And, you know, from a lot of the way I was raised by two Marines, a lot of things were aggressive and they were physical and there's a lot of built up stuff that goes there. So it's really easy for something to happen for you to snap and to be over aggressive. And, you know, like I wake up like that every day. I'm going to be honest with you. I wake up and I'm typically in a bad mood and I'm aggressive and I have emails and all this, but, you know, I wake up before everyone else does and I go to the gym and...
Wait, you wake up in a bad mood?
Yeah.
So wait, let's go back to the night before. When you fall asleep, what's your mindset, your mood then? Are you relaxed or is you got all this shit noodling in your head?
It's relaxed. I mean, I go to, every night when I go to bed, my things are handled.
All right, good.
And it's set up for the next day. But, you know, being in this position, you know, especially with, you know, with what you do, like, you know, you have people who like want to do last minute cancellations or last minute change things and do things like, you know, one thing I will say is, you know, I'm not going to sit here and act like, you know, I'm a saint, right? But when it comes to people that I care about, especially in business, I always deliver and I'm always there, even if I don't want to be. So, you know, if you are that person on a consistent basis, you have expectations of people. And if that doesn't happen, then, you know, yeah, like I have no chill. I'm either the most chill dude you've ever met on the face of the planet, or I'm absolutely like, in my
your needles
like,
on the red.
Oh, dude, there's no in between for me.
I'm going back. You're waking up in a bad mood, and this is a routine.
This is actually a funny joke. So I have an Apple Watch, right?
Okay.
So every morning they say, okay, what was your heart rate this morning when you woke up? And I'm telling you right now, my heart rate is higher at 6 a.m. than it is all day, even when I'm in the gym. Like, you know, you wake up to emails and you wake up thinking, okay, well, you know, I have to finish.
Is it you're waking up because it's anticipating the grind? I mean, help me understand your mindset when you're waking up.
I will say, like, those are catalysts, but at the end of the day, like, there are a lot of things, you know, from my childhood, and I think a lot of people who are being really honest, that you suppress. You know what I mean?
That's a damn good point.
You make it work.
And something triggers. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you're asleep, there is no cognizant ability to suppress those things, right? So when I'm waking up, you know, even when I'm sleeping and I'm dreaming, it's like, you know,
that is a good point. Now I see where you're going with it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, a lot of people are afraid to admit that, but, you know, to me, like, again, you know, I wouldn't be here without those struggles and that.
There you go.
And I think, you know, people nowadays are looking for the easy way out. You know, they want to just be able to like escape all of that without, you know, really having, you know, had gone through it. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, that's one of those things that really just builds you as a person, builds your character. Like, you know, I never have a bad day in business. Even when things don't go very well, I think, you know, where I was, you know, where I am, the opportunities that I have now. And, you know, in fact, you know, when I work with anybody, I ask them, you know, I tell people, the only people I want to work with are people who understand what it's like to have starved, right? At some point in your life. Like, if you haven't starved, then you do not have the ability that when things really hit the fan to have perspective to understand, like, okay, this seems like a big deal, but, you know, until you're digging food out of a trash can, or until you're wondering where you're going to sleep that night, or until you're, you know, like, this stuff from a business side is nothing, right? But, you know, a lot of the people have never gone through it, and the people who are ashamed of it. And I think, you know, that is where you build yourself. That's where you build the foundation of everything, because a lot more people have gone through that than people are willing to admit, you know, especially in this city. People are out, you know, driving nice cars, but can't pay rent, you know, and people are, you know, trying to like fit this mold and do whatever. And you know, that's where I will never fit in, because I've been to places where I've had nothing, and I've struggled more than I could ever, and not just as a child. I've made every mistake that I could possibly make 10 times over throughout my life. I've gotten it, I've lost it, I've gotten it, I've lost it. And you have to go through that to have perspective on what's important in your life.
You know, it's been a while. I can't remember when, but, you know, I had this epiphany, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but a long time ago I realized that I stopped having bad days. They became learning. They was just learning experience, because those quote-unquote bad days, which now I look at as learning experiences, if those are recurring days, then I'm doing something flipping wrong.
And it's a mindset.
Either that, or I'm associated with the wrong people. And it's, you know, a lot of it is who you are with. And, you know, so you got to figure that out. But,
well, you know, kind of one philosophy that I tell people all the time is like, you know, religion or not, my dad, who's a Marine, used to tell me all the time, there's no atheists in foxholes, right? Which basically means, like, when you're having a bad situation, right, like, everybody all of a sudden is praying. And, I think nowadays, people hit some bad situations and all of a sudden they want to, like, pray. And I don't mean this from a religious standpoint. I mean from a perspective standpoint. And the thing is like, you can't set your mindset around things that are absolutely, like, tearing you up inside. And you can't be thankful for the blessings that you have without being thankful for the blessings of the things you're not dealing with. Because it gets a lot worse. Like, people have gone through a lot worse. I mean, as long as you have your health and your sanity and, you have a drive, like, you have everything that you need to be able to do that, regardless of what anybody tells you, any kind of, oppression. And not to say that there isn't there, but what I'm saying is that, coming from a guy who came from nothing to, like, doing what we're doing now, and I'm still not there. I'll never be there in my mindset, right? Like, that's what keeps me coming back every day and working and how we do. But, I think people need to take these, situations, whether it be, family or, like a relationship that failed or a job where you got, screwed over. And that's what you use as your foundation and think, okay, this is what I'm going to grow to. And even on your bad days of doing what you're doing, you're thinking, well, what, at least I didn't get screwed over on my job today. And I didn't, like, I'm completely self-dependent. And, like, in today's world, like, you're able to do that if you have the drive. And I think there are a lot of people who have been through things who are doing that right now, that even if you're not ready to take that step, like, that's a huge asset. Like, to me, someone that has gone through that kind of struggle and come out ahead and didn't quit is more valuable to me than a college degree 10 times over, because they know what it takes.
Right.
That's real life.
Real. That is keeping it real. What else are you involved with? I know you mentioned you've got some other stuff. So what else is keeping you busy during the day?
So, I'll tell you another crazy story. But 3 years ago, actually rewind it back, but I will say that, being brought up in a military family, I was brought up in an aggressive family. I was brought up in a family that, the biggest guy in the room makes the rules, and, that transcended through my college and inevitably had me making a lot of mistakes. Right. So, just 3 or 4 years ago, literally everything, I gave away everything, right, with some really bad mistakes with the law. But, one of those things I had to do is I had to rebuild my credit because I had lost everything. So I went to a company who rebuilt my credit, and, they did so well that, we kept in contact. And now, actually, I bought that company about, 6 months ago. So restartingfutures.com, it's a 90-day little service, and we take care of credit repair and doing all these things. And what's really weird is the guy who owned the company before that bought that from a guy after he got himself out of bankruptcy 10 years ago. So that was something I was passionate about, and we did that. And then on the fun side of things, because we have the marketing company, which we love, but we have StayActive 502, which has been great for helping people, like, do workouts at home and in the gym and have, like, a trainer that's online. We have the credit repair company to, like, help people's credit, because these are all giving back, but for our
covering all the food groups, life's food groups here.
And I'll tell you, for the fun, we have Nofksgvnclothing.com.
I was going to say,
and that is the I'm going to be honest, on those late nights when we're drinking, that's really more where we're paying attention to than anything. But it's it's been a great adventure. And people say all the time, like, how do you have time to run all these things? Well, I don't. I have people that work with me who are passionate about what they're passionate about, and they love doing this stuff. So, those people are involved with my company, and there's no micromanaging. There's no any of that. Like my Restarting Futures, like, I have my CEO is, like, one of the most connected and like, well represented people on the face of the planet. He comes from a super wealthy family and comes to me and says, I want to do this on my own. I don't want to do it through my family. So that guy's running that company.
Right.
The StayActive. I have a guy who, went through a lot. He had some issues with the law when he was younger. Like, still actually doesn't have a driver's license because of it. But he changed his life, and he's focused and he's driven, and he's running my online fitness company. With the marketing stuff again. Like, all my boys that I worked with, when I was an engineer doing that, they're there. So, like, it's not like it's me who's running these businesses. You know what I mean? Like, I have guys who are really good, like this guy right here.
Check him out. Yeah.
I have really good people in my circle who carry their weight 10 times over. So it's not like it's just me. I'm just here to, like, help connect people and deliver these things to customers. But at the end of the day, the workload is being done by, these guys who I've met throughout my career who are geniuses, and they handle their own.
Man, that's a great story. Great story. we've met out music things, and but to hear where you've come from, or where you were to where you are now, it's a great story.
I will say this: like, it's a common story. It's not a story that people want to tell all the time.
Right, and that's there you go. That's it. Right.
And that's why I'm not, embarrassed or ashamed to come forward with this stuff, because I want people to come to me and say, you know what, man, I went through the same things. My childhood was rough. Like, I lost a parent, I lost a sibling. I've been through some situations I thought I'd never bounce back, but here I am right now, right? And at the end of the day, those are the people you want on your team. Right. So to me, like, if you're open and honest about it, like, not only do you attract people like that, which I value extremely, but people who, you never hear someone who's talking about real life stuff. You see stuff on Instagram and Facebook where people's lives are perfect, and it's all bullshit.
Oh God, man! Don't get me started. I'm not supposed to say this, but I have to say it. Social media, I absolutely hate social media.
I
only use it because of my kids and this.
Absolutely.
But other than that, it's probably one of the worst things ever invented.
Cannot stand it, right? Like, I have no social media outside of my Facebook, which a lot of that is for, business and family and things like that, but I don't post on it. Like, I don't allow people to, like, comment on my stuff. Like, it's just, I keep it as basic as I can. And I will tell you, between social media and media in general nowadays, the amount of time and stress and effort that is consumed to be able to, like, understand all this information and to, like, relate reality versus perspectives on social media, I mean, it's too much. It's too much. You know what I mean? So I think, keep things very simple. Like, figure out what you love and you're passionate about. Like, find your inner circle of friends. Like, if you have a significant other, like, they're special. If you, have a passion, like, that's special. And all the other stuff that's not special, like, at the end of the day, kick that to the curb. And, kind of like an example I give people all the time is, like, have you ever been really broke? And then you figure out, like, okay, this is the shit I have to pay for, and this is the shit that I just have when I'm making some money. Right? Like, find out what that stuff is that you have to pay for.
Need versus want.
Exactly. And people,
I mean, it's
unless you get there, you have no idea.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because people feel like they need cable. They need, they need all these things. They need social media. Like, no, you don't. Right? Like, when you get down to the struggle and, like, things are not going well and you see what's there for you and what's not, like, that enlightens you. And I challenge anybody, even if you're in a situation where you're not obligated to do that, try it. You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
Go dark for 60 days. You know what I mean? Like, cancel everything you don't need. Like, find out, like, what's really imperative. Like, and you'll see who's sticking around. Like, who's willing to go to bat with you.
That's some really good points. Really, you do. Another cheese line. You find out who your friends are, and
I'll tell you a true story. This time last year, right before we really started. I was a consultant, I was making money, and that was all good. But when my friends came to me and said, hey, we want to run a company, I'll tell you that this time last year, I remember sending a text to all my boys who were like hustlers and motivators and guys I was spending a lot of time with. And I said, look, every Wednesday night, let's meet at my house. Let's go over what we do in these projects. And let's bring each other in. And I'm going to tell you what, none of them showed up. In fact, one of them responded and said, we don't have time for all that, right? I'm going to tell you right now, those text messages sound a lot different, right? But if you don't put yourself in that situation, you're never going to know.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah,
and
good point.
I mean, I just think, you have to welcome that struggle. And I think, a lot of people, it comes natural because they can't help it. But, embrace that and then use that to grow and motivate yourself and understand what you need and the people you want to be around, that's what makes or breaks you in this industry if you're not working for a corporate environment. And I understand what people do. It's scary as hell to do what we're doing. You know what I mean?
You're right. It is. And there is that sense of adventure. There's that... trial and error. I mean, you have to accept failure, but you got to be quick to respond to it and, understand it, then move on.
Yeah, and none of it's failure.
No,
right?
that's a good point.
None of it's failure. Right. Like, it's all a learning tool, every single thing. And you figure out how to do it bigger and better. And I'll tell you right now, like, the longer that, you're willing to go out and struggle and do things on your own and run your companies, when you go in and you're having these conversations with people who are corporate, like, that knowledge, like I said, is worth more than a college degree all day. When you understand, like, how the processes work, like, what their pain points are, like, what's happening in terms of like budgets and all these things. And like, you can go in and dissect all of that, and you understand that you've been through it. You've made those mistakes where, either you didn't deliver, you didn't charge enough, or you made the wrong decision, or doing all these things, those life lessons. And, to me, to be at 31, like, I'm so blessed to be in the position where I can make those mistakes early enough to recover.
There you go. Yeah.
Right. So to me, like, none of it's a failure. I mean, I'm thankful for all of it.
Good. And I can tell. Very humbled, and even more impressive. I think you're a quality guy too. So
I appreciate that. I feel the same. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, I've seen it, I've lost it. I know a lot of people, nowadays who are really good friends of mine that own companies and drive nice cars and things like that, and they're struggling. Like, there are so many people who struggle every single day, but people's prides get in the way, and like, with the whole social media, like, it just doesn't happen. And my thing is, if you can express that, and you have people who are like-minded, and you're not afraid to ask for help and do a favor and not expect something in return, like, it's not that difficult, it's not that crazy, but just people are so scared of being vulnerable, which I was for a long time as well. But I think if you're vulnerable and you open yourself up to people who are willing to do the same thing, they understand your perspective, they're willing to help, and that's how you progress. Otherwise, you're just stuck in that same circle for forever of trying to be something you're not, and overcompensating, and trying to keep up with the Joneses. And like, at the end of the day, like, for what? You know what I mean? Those people aren't there. Social media is not real. Like, so
it's the ultimate facade, but you're real, and thanks for keeping it real. Jesse Daniels, thanks for hanging out with me today,
I appreciate the invitation.
We'll do it again.
Sir.
We'll do it again.
Absolutely. Thank
thanks,
you very
brother.
much.
All right, man.
Let's get busy.
Yeah, it's not about me. It's about them, guys. Kevin Hale here, continuing with the shooting from the lip on-site remote. Yummy. On this Tuesday night, October 2nd, 2018, at Baxter's 942 in the Highlands of Louisville, Kentucky. It's episode 354. This is segment number 4 of the night. And it's quite a segment. It's like,
it's the best segment of the night.
I have this guilty pleasure. I admit it. When it comes to the whole burlesque thing, I've Stephen. No, well, when I say guilty pleasure, it just, I don't know. Does that?
It is not a guilty pleasure
You do
to
not have
love
to feel guilty
beautiful
about
women,
it, sir.
taking their clothes off.
Do you all know who the assholers are?
Yes.
Yeah, Stephen Clark. Well, he's my boy, and
the Stephen Clark.
He has some boas of mine that I need back.
We're gonna have to.
I would love my bag of boas back, Stephen.
Well, they played at the gig, the event this past Friday, but I've been to watch. He's another one of my guilty pleasures, but the assholers. But when they work with the whole burlesque thing, when they play their music to you guys, that's some good stuff.
Mm-hmm. One of actually my first shows I've ever produced, Asshollers, Stephen Clark and company asked me to get a group of performers, what I do now every Tuesday and every first Friday. And we called it Assholler a Go-Go, and it was really fun. There's like, did you not go to that?
No.
Are you my friend?
I didn't go either.
I guess I'm not a really good friend then.
I guess I don't have any friends, y'all.
The truth.
But Lola's titties, though, right now. I see it in the camera. It's looking so good. That's a good spot placement.
And the whole natural thing, too, is they're natural.
Yeah.
And that's
They're having fun.
my preferred choice. Anyways, right, well, we got
You really
here.
are distracting him.
Yeah, we are. In a good way, in a very good way.
Awesome.
Not the hashtag Me Too. Let's get that off the table. Nothing like that.
Okay.
No. We got Lola Dee, Licious.
Yes.
Beatrix.
Beatrix.
Beatrix. Trix. Trix. Be Naughty. And the lovely Ethel, Loveless.
Yes.
You all. This is your normal look, right?
Yes.
So you all didn't come from some event. You all just showed up
This is my
looking.
normal Lola look, but it's not my normal Muggle look.
Well, you know, you all, the names that you all are going by on the show are your stage names or your
Yes.
burlesque names.
Alter egos,
Do
if you will.
Is it? Are they? How much? All right, 'cause it's-
Depends on the day.
Well, here's my thing. How much of your Beatrix is not you?
Is not me.
Yeah.
It's all me.
Well, I mean, do you
I encompass all of it.
I get that question because Lola is different than that other. the other
Lola
girl.
is still a part of you as a person.
I know, but I think he was asking like, you know.
Are there things that Beatrix does that Muggle Beatrix
Right. Yes.
doesn't
Because
do?
am I
No,
not,
I am an exhibitionist.
I love you because I'm a freaking voyeur. So. But am I not allowed to use the real names? Because it's like, look, when I do the social media thing, like Facebook, I'm tagging you all, and your social media or your Facebook names, you got your real name out there as far as your.
They don't.
No, they're on their. If you go to their their URL.
It's in parentheses.
Oh, okay.
Well, because if you
Which is annoying to me.
Facebook.com/
Oh, and then it'll
your
say the
name,
Muggle name.
your real name.
Then I guess it's not a big deal. But
okay, but I guess that's-
if I'm in Beatrix form, or even
So you're in.
I am Beatrix.
Yeah.
And when I meet people out in public, I don't know. I'm a private person. I
Okay.
don't want them to know my name.
Okay, fair enough. And we'll keep it at that. So I want to know more about you all. Start with you.
Okay. Okay.
Give us your your character Lola. Tell me about Lola.
Lola is very young.
Lola.
Loladee, Licious. She started out as Lola Licious, but Facebook wouldn't let me have Licious as the last name. It would let me have D, Lola Dee, and then in parentheses, Licious. So I added D, which actually was my great grandma's middle name, and she was a pretty cool chick, so I don't think she would have a problem with it.
You're incorporating grandma into this.
My great grandma, who I'm named after, my real name. I'm actually named after her first name. So yes, so she's incorporated in both of my names. I was just following suit, I guess. Anyway, I started a while back, 10 years ago. I did start with the Vixens and performed a lot. I was taking a yoga class at Urban Active, and the creator of the Vava Vixens was my teacher. And she was like, "Hey, so guys," she was passing out flyers. This was 2009, and she was like, "I'm gonna put on this burlesque show," and I was like, what? Burlesque? What's that? I want to.
Were you not familiar with that?
I wasn't. I knew what it was,
Okay.
but I hadn't heard about any around town. That was like the first time I really had heard about like some burlesque shows locally going on. So it really piqued my interest. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to that show because it was right around Thanksgiving. So I got put on the mailing list instead, just to hear about future shows. Right. And one day I looked at my emails and there was a call for auditions. And I was like, oh God, I could never get on stage. Jesus, I don't know what I'm doing. What would I do? But at the end of it, there was like, well, we need bunnies too. And they just walk around the crowd in lingerie and kind of tease the crowd and warm up the crowd. And I was like, I think I'm
You're
going
a
to sign up
teaser
to do
and
this.
you're
This is good. This is me. I can handle this. And I was excited about it. And so I started doing that with the Vixens, and basically eventually they just kind of forced me to get on stage. In a good way.
In a good way, yeah.
Because I really wanted to. Because I like to be the center of attention too.
She is the queen of camp. She does really good camping.
Yeah, I like to be goofy. I don't like to be too sexy serious.
Yeah.
And,
hey, didn't you win a
You were talking
award?
about athleticism earlier. I'm not really athletic. I just kind of act funny. I'm kind of skitty. So.
Well, and your acts or your what's the word I'm looking for? your performance. Yeah, I guess not all of them are per se athletic, but there is a lot.
Mine's on the, oh yeah.
There is a lot of it, yeah.
They are way more athletic than I am in their style, but.
Yeah, well, let's go to next one up, Beatrix. What's your story?
Similar to Lola, my friend and I had run in the same circle as Christiane. She was the starter of the Vixens, and she wanted us to do acro yoga. So
yoga,
acrobatic yoga.
Okay. Really? I've not heard of that.
It's fun.
Okay.
And we bunnied the first Vixen show, and then we did a gender bender acro yoga striptease. And it was awesome. And it's just grown from there. I recently, in the past few years, got into aerial arts.
Right.
And I've had the pleasure of stripping on a lyra for a show. So I have developed a lot over the years, but...
I forgot to ask real quick, how long have you been doing this, Lola?
About the same amount of time.
Okay.
We kind of started.
About 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Ethel came into my life a few years ago. It's funny, both of us came into it when we were 20 years old.
I started bunnying when I was 18, and then I started getting on stage more when I was like 20, 21. Yeah, I wasn't drinking, so...
Liar.
Wink.
Wink, wink, wink. Facts are optional in this.
Right. But then, and it's funny, I was always a performer, and I never wanted to produce. I didn't want that responsibility. And then this, like, brainchild was born randomly into my head.
You had this vision.
I had a vision for Boots Off Burly Brawl, and I told Emily immediately about it. I'm sorry, Ethel immediately about it.
They're gonna know about Emily. It's fine.
They're gonna meet her eventually. And she was into it, and I didn't know if she would be or not, and she was, and it was a beautiful masterpiece of best friended nakedness.
Yeah.
And somehow I got involved.
Well, hell yeah.
We needed you.
Hell yeah. Can I say fuck on here?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You can say anything. It's totally unfiltered here.
Yay. Cool.
All right. So.
Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Well, like my friends over here, I had a similar experience bunnying with a Louisville burlesque troupe. Lola was actually the first bitch I ever met in burlesque, and it was at like a $20 art show, and I was like, wow, this is like so cool. I was like with my best friend that I'm still best friends with, and she's an introvert, and I love her so much, and I'm just telling her all my wild and crazy stories, but she was with me. And I was like, yeah, I'll take a card. And then I went to a magazine release party at Art Sanctuary, and I saw her and Dita DeVille, Lola, and Dita DeVille, and they just did like this crazy, like just fun improv-y kind of.
We did?
Yeah.
I do not.
And I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is what I want to do. And I mean, I was a sex worker when I was 18. I was like already pretty sexually fluid.
Let's go back. Whoa. A sex worker.
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
Well, I was just in a form of sex work. We'll just say that.
Okay, all right.
So, and then I didn't strip at a club until I was 20, but those are completely different, two completely different things, but also similar. But anyway, I digress.
Rooted in the same.
So, yeah, I was already sexually fluid, and I'm like, damn.
She's very sexually fluid.
I need to like do something. I'm sorry. I smoked a blunt before this, so I'm just like, I'm going to talk about myself and see what comes out of my mouth. So Ethel came about. I've been Ethel for about whenever, 6 years now, and started producing pretty much for 2 years now, just doing little improv-y things monthly, and then it evolved into Titty Tiki Tuesday at the Limbo plug, which is on a hiatus right now because I'm going out west.
Really?
But Yeah, in like a month. I'm like shaking because I'm like talking about myself, and I'm like, shit, people are gonna like
She's
hear
going
me
on
say
a
things.
tour out west, but she
Tour,
she
really?
didn't really want to
Excursion.
call it a tour, but we've
Excursion.
encouraged her to call it a tour.
It's business. I mean, it's your.
It is.
your-
I'm gonna get educated, and I'm
Right.
gonna get raw. I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna perform and do networking shit
It's
and
your
making friends.
self-discovery tour.
Making friends. Okay.
But she will be performing, so I think it's
Right,
it's
right,
technically a tour.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really kind
She's being
of
humble.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like,
Oh yeah, Ethel is so
She's
humble.
really not ever humble, so I don't.
I'm not drunk enough. But yeah, I've just been doing my own thing with these ladies. I mean,
We
I
have
like-
way too much fun doing
and we're all
this.
pretty
Nothing
like
wrong with it.
powerful leaders in our own ways, so we all mesh
I'm
pretty well.
feeling that. I'm feeling that.
But it's not a competition thing. It's like we each have our strengths, and then we just rag on each other's
We talk about our-
weaknesses.
You all keep it real then.
Whoever's
yeah.
having
Keep
the
everybody
worst
in check,
day,
yeah.
We just,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh yeah, we get in like sister fights.
Yeah.
it's really fun. We end up laughing.
We've known each other too long,
We've known
and
each other a really long time. So.
but it's good.
Yeah, I went to a couple of shows at the Cure Lounge,
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think
long live.
probably you
R.I.P..
were. It might have been your shows.
I did start at the Cure for a little bit. Well, I mean, it was like on a process. I started with Stevie Dix originally. Like that's
Dexter.
when my like stage performance really bloomed. I left the Vixens. I met Stevie Dix through Beatrix. She was like, "I'm not in town, but
It was my parting gift before my tour.
it was tight." We actually met. I had a before like anything was happening besides the Vixens. I like met with a couple people at my house. I talked to some other like local producers now. I was like, we need to have something low key, but also like bringing in other people from out of state. Like we need
Other
like
performers. actually.
other performers, yes. And
Because that night it was like Rex.
Rex Marietta, were you at Siobhan's Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo?
Yes,
that was a good show.
Yeah, that was my first experience.
Wow.
And that was so over the top because again, the asshole.
She knows how to produce a damn show.
That was just that was amazing.
She's very entertaining.
I've taken
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
some classes from her,
Yeah.
and
And she goes by a different name now, right?
she goes by
Abigail
Abigail Reese
Ray, yeah,
now.
right.
She's Abigail Reese. I'm gonna plug
But
something really
long
quick.
live Siobhan Atomica. Let me
Yes.
just say that.
This
Badass,
Friday,
badass.
she's coming in
She's
from
coming in,
Portland.
right.
Ethel's Electric Boogaloo at the Limbo.
Where's this at?
At the Limbo, it's downtown. It's Louisville's only tiki bar. But
I didn't get that invite. I need that invite.
I'm
That's
inviting.
this Friday?
Yeah, it's this Friday. Please come.
I would
It's a
love
$5 cover
Fifth
to
and
see
Chestnut.
Abigail Reese and then some gorgeous drag queens and
You all,
Lady
are
Phoenix.
you all performing or this?
Not tomorrow.
No, but we
Well,
will
not-
be
that's
selling
not tomorrow. I
tickets
mean,
to
not Friday.
Yallerween Spooktacular
Yeah, we're gonna get ready to talk about that too.
at the Limbo on Friday.
Okay, so Limbo's Friday. All right. One of the things, events that you all did want to come on here to promote is the Yallerween. Did I say it right?
Y'all are wing spooktacular.
Spectacular, a fall burlesque showcase. What's that all about? Somebody.
So
theme.
I will answer
Well,
that.
this is weekend as well.
Yeah, it's this Saturday, October 6th at Art Sanctuary.
Yeah.
So Boots Off, we have a Western theme because I'm a fan of the West. My girls are a fan of the West. I don't know if they like Western things as much as me. but-
Cowgirl, baby.
Cowgirl in the sand, bitch. But I was like, we need to have something. I love 70s cheese. So, like, you know, fun 70s, like, you know what I mean? And luckily, they're a fan of it too. And
Lola
how does that-
also is our graphic designer and
Yeah.
makes the most beautiful posters that you will see around Louisville.
Thank you.
And she came up with this gorgeous vintage burlesque Western gorgeous
I
woman.
totally ripped off old,
It's fine.
Western cowgirl pinups. Don't know if
But
it's
that
legal.
was the original inspiration, and then
Inspiration
For the
or
litter.
research.
oh, yeah, that's right. See, I'm like so engorged with what's in my brain right now. I'm like, oh, yeah, Lola did that. I'm like, yeah, I'm finally doing what I want to do, and it involves going out west and not being in Louisville anymore.
Yay!
That's the
Wait a minute,
thing on my
anymore?
mind. Oh,
Well, no, just
I'll be coming
she's just
back.
super excited
Okay.
to go on tour.
So
But
y'all
I'm gonna
are
get it back on
ween.
track. Yeah,
Let's
y'all
do
are
that.
ween.
Y'all are
Yeah,
ween.
ignore me.
Boots Off was super successful, and obviously we want to keep going in our pursuits. So we were
Now, is
trying
this
to.
your all's project?
Yes.
Okay, the three of you.
The three of us.
Y'all are ween. So we just wanted to do not necessarily like a Halloween show because doing a show in October is hard because everybody's having
There's
events.
a lot of.
There's a lot of
And so
competition.
we were lucky to get in, early in the month so people, can still come and kick off the Halloween season. And it's
And there are a lot of Halloween themed numbers. A lot of characters that with a twist, and but there's also some just autumnal themed
Harvest.
Oh, there you go. Harvest.
Harvest.
There we go.
Holly Harvest,
Holly.
performer in the show. She was sending me pictures of her
Of her-
costume.
yes, she is going to bring the harvest.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
it saddened me because a couple weeks ago she was supposed to be on Holly, and it got canceled because there was some water issue out construction, and so I got to get her rescheduled. But yeah, this is a recurring thing. People are going to think, my bias to you lovelies.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's what's happening in Louisville.
We're okay with
arm's
that.
reach. Yeah,
We're okay with that.
Right.
Louisville's blossoming into
That's what we're here for.
some sexy, sexy times. So
it is. It really is.
we just gotta.
And that's what
have
we're
people
trying to
know
do.
about.
Like, we don't want to just bring burlesque anywhere because that's happening and that's great. And we support that. But we want to enrich, we want to bring people from our neighborhood.
All right, help people explain this, or not explain, enlighten. Because, when I post, the show tonight, the word burlesque is out there. Some people have this misnomer that, it's nude. It's like this. It's a strip. It's you got strippers on. What do you got? What is that all about? Give us something. Enlighten people
On what
about
burlesque
burlesque.
is?
Yeah.
Lola, I
yeah.
think that's for you.
Burlesque is it's that sexy traditional striptease that you would imagine right away.
Right.
It's that. So obviously it's definitely sexy. But
It
then
is.
there's acts like mine that are deeply rooted in comedy.
Right.
And we were talking about athleticism earlier, and if I do any athleticism, it's happening in my face. I have an athletic.
You break a sweat, right? You do. Is that?
I just have the most. I have expressions. I have big eyes. I have that's where I do that's where my skill set lies.
Right.
I think.
got you.
So it's as much like
We're
comedy
after
and-
we're done here, we're gonna have what she had earlier.
yeah.
I do want to educate real quick. So when burlesque started over in Europe, like 100 so years ago, it was basically, I can't remember in my notes if it was like illegal still or not, but it was basically a mockery of politics.
I heard that.
So it was basically like women showing their knees and being politically empowered in that sort of
Making
way.
fun of
Yeah.
serious
Still,
things.
so it's
Yeah.
still rooted in, being provocative.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But one thing that sets our show apart that I definitely like to say before our time is up is that we combine burlesque, boylesque, and drag.
That's a
And
good point, boy.
There's
Yeah.
not a whole lot of shows around here, if any, that are
In Louisville.
incorporating drag and burlesque. I say burlesque / boylesque because
I
to
see
me
it
it's pretty much the same. It's just a male performer doing the
Right.
burlesque instead of a. So it's gotten the term boylesque. But we love all.
boylesque
We do.
dancers.
You know,
we love boylesque.
I have this idea. Are you all in town in November?
What day?
17th.
For the last part of it.
17th.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Oh,
All I'm
okay.
going to say is I've got something noodling in my head right now.
Noodle.
November 7th, noodle. Yeah. but that you are potentially going to help straighten up. November 17th,
Well,
Shooting from the Lip Birthday Bash number 4 is at Diamond Concert Hall down the street.
Party.
It's
Pay
a
us to
Saturday
take our
night.
clothes off.
I think
Hire
I've
us
got, well,
right
I've
now.
got 3, it's a combination.
4.
Bands, I've got 3 bands. I've got my buddy who just walked, he's the MC, he's a comedian. It's a celebration of our show.
throw some burlesque in there. It'll be a variety
I
show.
think if we added a little spice to this, a little dazzle.
We do trios. So
Let's talk.
trio, yeah.
Let's talk. I got to figure out how we can do this and how much time. I think I'm on to something here. So
I think you are too, sir.
I think I would add to the night. So
I concur.
I agree.
all right. Besides the Halloween thing, what's next up for you all? I know
Boots
you're
off.
Boots off round 2.
all right, and that's scheduled for.
That will be in March.
Okay.
So as soon as we get back from BurleyCon, which happens at
Is
the
that what it's called, really?
BurleyCon, it
Where's that?
happens in Seattle every
Really?
year.
You all y'all going?
I am not.
Just
Lola's
us
not.
two.
That is.
She's meeting me out
okay.
there, so that's
you're
why.
heading out.
Okay, so I'm
sooner than-
turning 30 on Halloween. We're going to Vegas.
Yes,
and
we're
that's
all 3 going to
the
Vegas.
start of her excursion, and then I'm going to
Well, you're
meet
all
her.
about the same. You're 30. Right? You're all about the same age, right?
We won't talk about that.
Pass. Hard pass.
We're actually all 3 very
Staggered apart.
Yeah, we really are.
We won't talk about how many,
But we won't tell who's
Yeah.
My
who's
bad.
who.
My
She's
bad.
young enough to be my daughter,
Okay, so I'm 24.
I'm in the middle.
and we have the same birthday.
Lola and I
Well,
have the same birthday.
Okay, so I have a daughter your age. You're getting ready to turn 30. So my oldest is 26. Are you might be like wifey material for more.
I am 44. I just turned 44 this year.
I'm
We
in the,
said
I'm
we
in the
passed,
next,
but we
I'm in the
lied.
next decade. So keep that in mind.
So we said we weren't going to talk about it, and then,
But here we are.
Actually, I don't
You
mind.
look amazing.
I don't mind saying it now.
You look
the one
amazing.
I don't mind saying it now, because I don't look it.
You
Now,
don't.
when I
Yeah,
look
look
it
at
a little
your
bit
boobs
later,
right
I'm
now.
gonna be like, I know, right? I'm just gonna distract
I'm just
people.
gonna
Those
like.
are 26
I couldn't even talk.
I'm a late bloomer.
You all have to. I don't know when we're done with this segment. Where you all leaving right away, or you all stick
Now
around?
we'll have a drink.
We'll
Stick
probably have
around.
another drink.
Stick around. There's music that starts up at 10. Hang out with us. And,
Okay.
and
Cool.
I don't know if he's playing music. We might.
Who's got the pot? What? I'm sorry.
he does too. Yeah.
Oh my
We'll.
Hey, that's illegal.
All right.
Hey.
All right. So.
So, Y'alloween is a Halloween themed feast harvest themed show. We have a really fun, sexy game.
Oh my God. We're
After
not going to tell you
intermission.
about it
You can't
But
because
it's really good. And then Boots Off will be in April, calling all international and
April's
American
my birthday month, so we might have
burlesque.
to do a
Oh, I
birthday
said
thing.
March, but it is April.
It's April
It's
or March?
actually
we're going to start planning for it as soon as we get back from BurleyCon.
But is it the event in April?
April, mid-April. We haven't set a date yet.
TBD.
TBD.
But Y'alloween is happening this Saturday, October
Well,
6th
I
at
feel
Art
like I have to, like, get right up
Sanctuary.
on-
Art
Oh my God.
Sanctuary. You know, it's the first time I was in there, and I was
Isn't it a
blown
cool
away.
space?
It was. And Lisa, and she's got.
Lisa.
Lisa's got a. It's. I love that place.
Yeah, it's great. Salem from Hell from St. Louis is headlining. And then
Shrimp Cocktail.
Shrimp Cocktail. She was actually the very first Boots Off Best Burly Broad.
She
That
won
won
Boots Off.
last year. She was actually Shrimp Cocktail as Itty Bitty Twitty. So she's got many characters. She's a goofy little gal. I love her
I
so much.
don't want to give away all the details of Y'alloween, but I will say for you listeners that she is going to reincarnate Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh shit! Yeah, Ozzy's gonna come.
This is-
And there
What-
may
this
or
is-
may not
this-
be a bat involved.
This is Saturday.
Saturday at the Art Sanctuary.
Wait, it says from 12. Oh no, that is no.
Doors at 8, shows at 9.
Gotcha. All right. Okay.
You can check out our Facebook page.
Y'all are weeding.
Y'all are
And
being
also on
spectacular.
Instagram. Well, details. We don't have a page on Instagram. But
We're working on it. We all have jobs outside.
Doors
of this.
open at 8. Show
Show's at
from
9.
So it's 9 to 11. Is that right? 'Cause
Yeah,
it
it'll
says
be about 2 hours.
2 hours. Okay. Hosted by these lovelies. It says Naughty and Loveless production.
Yes. So
But with Delicious, because Lola's been doing a bunch of shit.
she is our add-on for this show.
I'm gonna get my credit.
Look at I did
She's
get an
getting her
invite to
credit.
this.
Yeah.
Rex invited me.
Oh, yeah.
What a guy.
Rex
What a,
loves
What a
me.
guy.
Thanks,
He's
Rex.
a good.
We love Rex.
He's a
Yeah.
He's the best.
Oh, my God.
So he'll be there.
Yes,
He's performing.
Spaghetti Western. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Actually,
I just love
Well,
saying
before-
spaghetti
I
Western.
gave some details to a publication.
Real quick, Rex, Holly, that I know,
Buster for real.
Buster for real is
Kitty St.
He is
Vincent.
so good, y'all.
Y'all.
He is so good, y'all.
Kitty St. Vincent, Umi
Naughty.
Jaja, Abortion.
And then
Femi La Freak, I know. Femi La Freak has such a production that
We're not gonna give that.
I'm not going to give it away, but I'm just going to let you know it's dramatic.
we have an
Super
even
cute.
mix of local awesome talent
I
and
can
then
see it.
out of town
Yeah.
beauties
That's cool.
to mix it up because we don't want every show that's burlesque to be the same performers every time.
Right.
So
doing the same thing. That wasn't shade, but it is because now I'm saying that it is.
Look at her eyes. Look at her face.
I'm like, podcast. Hey, roomies, let's smoke. And they didn't stop me.
You got an authentic.
I love it.
It's
Good
it's
stuff.
gonna be recorded and there forever.
Exactly.
It's there.
I make great decisions.
And I made a great decision by having you
Thank
all
you for
on
having
tonight.
us.
Good stuff.
So much.
Lola, Ethel, Beatrix. Thanks for coming and hanging out with
Thank
me.
you.
And
Thanks for having and looking at Carrie's or Lola's titties with
Carrie,
us.
Come see
Sorry,
the
Lola.
titties
Bye.
without the covers on them this Saturday.
yes. Without the cover?
Right.
We're gonna have pasties on.
I mean, we have to keep it legal,
You're
but
right.
all this extra floof will go away.
Nice.
So, bottom line, if you want to see these,
Come to the show.
come to the show.
These. I
And
know
those.
there's not much right here, but
And
We all
those.
And
have very
mine,
nice
I'm
ones.
supporting Burlesque by wearing Front Row Paul's support.
Oh,
Burlesque
okay.
tops.
Very cool.
He's a super
We
fan
love
and
him.
he's amazing. I met him.
He's the #1 burlesque fan.
I met him when I was just really drunk off of tequila in St. Louis, and I'm like, "What's up?" And then the next day, I was like, "Hello, I'm Ethel Loveless," and he's just like, "We met last night." And I was like, "Shit,
I did not know that.
we're best friends." Yeah.
Ladies, thanks for
thank you.
gracing.
for having
Yes,
us.
good stuff. Good luck this weekend.
Yes, thank you.
I hope to see you.
Yeah, I'm planning on it. Yes, sexy weekend for you
Sexy,
guys.
sexy
Yeah.
weekend in Louisville.
Woo. All right.
It's your boobs, Lola.
Yeah.
Your boobs.
Thanks, ladies.
They're calling it.
Bye.
Let's get busy.
As I've been the appetizer to the Kevin Cummings gig tonight. It is Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018 at Baxter's 942. Shooting from the Lips on-site recording. Last segment of the night, trending news. Stewart Askew's back. Kevin Cummings, Lauren Eid Casey Allen's here. We've got, what the hell was that? Shit. Well, let's start real quick. I'm not gonna. The whole
Where are we starting?
BrettKavanaugh.
Oh yeah.
You know, the
Muslim
we got the
lesbians.
FBI involved. In summary, this is what kind of
Is lesbianic? I'm trying to get it. Sorry.
you know. Trump today's comment, his quote was, in summarizing this ordeal, is it's a very scary time for young men in America.
Yes.
I'm like, God damn it, could you be any more blatantly
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take the
take the lead. Jump in.
Be Ricky Henderson on this one. Take the lead off.
Greatest lead off man, by the way.
Oh, yeah, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He let everyone know. Okay, it being a hard time for young men in America. I think it's funny that the man that hijacked the narrative from Colin Kaepernick on social injustice when it comes to young black men in America has the audacity to say that it's now a tough time for young, I guess, white privileged men in America, because that would be the definition of BrettKavanaugh. That to me is just laughable. It's absolutely laughable. If you want to look out for young men in America, there's been people taking a stance on that for the past 2 years that you've made the narrative about patriotism.
Yeah, it's like feeling sorry for someone that got their Lamborghini keyed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, that's terrible.
Oh my God, my Ferrari got a flat tire. You know,
the emblem on the front of your Mercedes is now on the necklace of a.
Yeah, the neighborhood rapper, you know. So, like, hearing him say that, it's just, to me, it's beyond eye rolling. Me personally, as a black man, I guess I could still say I'm young to certain people, who's dealt with social injustice and an extreme case, to hear him say that from a white privileged guy who obviously in college was feeling himself, obviously in high school was feeling himself. It's so.
It seemed more like he was feeling other people, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Louis C.K. feels himself. Kavanaugh feels other people.
And that is still considered an allegation. It hasn't been proven necessarily, but given all the evidence that was brought up, you know, on Thursday, it kind of seems like something definitely in the likelihood or a possibility for him to have done. You know.
When in high school, I thought it was high school was the main.
Well, in high school and in college, it was during his time at Yale or something.
Yeah, he went to Yale.
So
at his high school prep schools, where all these allegations happened with Ford,
and the FBI has yet to talk to I think the third accuser, and
they haven't talked to Ford or.
They haven't even talked to Ford. I thought they actually had.
No, that was one of the stories today that her lawyers contacted the FBI, kind of wondering why they hadn't spoken to her or Kavanaugh.
So
yet.
let's assume that at the end of all this, that the average person might say, I just don't know which way. Like, it's not enough proof necessarily to say he did it, but it doesn't seem like quite enough proof to say that he for sure didn't. What do you do then? It's to me that's the odd part of this, because I'm obviously, I would never want him making any decisions for me, obviously. Like, I would love for him to get railroaded in that sense, but I do at the same time obviously hate the idea of that if it was some bullshit, I wouldn't want that to be the new tactic in politics, just lying. But it just seems like what do you do if it's like, I don't know?
Well, here's the thing. He's talking about a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. And when you start off talking about a conspiracy about the Clintons and the Democrats, and how great beer is. Well, more so to the simple fact that if you're on the Supreme Court, you're supposed to have a certain era of bipartisanship. You're not supposed to be so blatantly, obviously, like Democrat and anti-liberal.
Yeah,
that's what scares me.
But what appointment in the last 20 years hasn't obviously been?
When you make it that blatant, here's my thing. There are 24 other candidates. They're on that list. Okay, why is it so important that it's just him? There are 24 other people, and I guarantee him, 23 of them are just as conservative.
Yeah.
Why not another candidate? After seeing his temperament and the way he came across, the fake crying, the tongue-in-cheek, like, come on.
Do you think it was fake crying?
Yes, because I didn't see one actual tear. Okay, it's easy for me to talk about.
I mean, he could have been really emotional, whether he did it or whether he didn't do it.
He's sad for his family,
but he's still
as
just
well. Like,
even if you're a liar, you can be sad for what you're being.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
or like even a mild liar.
But I think Stewart's point is a matter of temperament. Like, we're not asking him to be a Boy Scout leader. We're asking him to have one of the most important positions on planet Earth. I just don't want him to cry if someone asks him a hard question. And he cried
like talking about a calendar at one point, and
What had to do with his father?
Okay, his father who was still alive.
I think.
Okay, his father who was still alive was sitting right behind him, and he mentioned he started this calendar in 1978. And I was unaware until watching John Oliver that means Kavanaugh was 13 at the time. Kavanaugh said they would look back on calendars of dates and weddings, around the holidays. When he was 14, recapping the past year, that's ridiculous.
That's obviously attorneys
Love
just
John
coaching
Oliver, by the
him
way.
to show emotion.
So when you're doing that tongue-in-cheek and that fake crying voice at that point on something like that, that's disingenuous. That's ridiculous. You're not telling me the next year you won't win over the past calendar of the prior year, and it was that sentimental and that.
Well, I would have to rewatch
serious.
Well, no, in the water thing, actually, there's been times where I've gotten emotional, and the only thing I do is keep drinking water. So there is some.
I mean, I feel what you're saying. It's obviously not as bad that he drank water than like when Obama drank the fake Flint water. That was obviously way worse. But,
yeah. Oops. Yeah.
But my bigger overarching thing was, like you mentioned earlier with Kavanaugh, just him being disingenuous. Only because.
Okay, I understand his family. I don't mean to cut you off. I understand his family's being put through something, and I get that. But it's the same as when Senator Graham got up and he's like, "You going through hell? You're going through hell right now. What is this? This is hell."
Agreed.
So it's the same thing like with Kavanaugh. You weren't the person who was possibly sexually assaulted. I understand what's going on, but don't tell me you keep getting beklempt every time, like you're talking about this or that when it comes to your family, painting yourself out as a choir boy. Come on now, man. We see the yearbook. When you talk about a devil's triangle and the drinking game, you can tell when someone's
like
bullshitting.
A frat guy, like he does
totally what he is.
I don't really know.
And that's literally like frat to me is that's like a synonym for rapist. It seems like it's such a. Sorry if you're in a frat, guys, and I do mean that. Sorry, if you're in a frat. Stop it. Stop it.
And I understand this took place a long time ago. I could be comfortable with people bringing up the argument of this was a long time ago if I didn't see what I saw Thursday. I spent a solid 5 hours watching that coverage.
Well, I'd love to watch and banter with you about it. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a 16-year-old kid you're talking about.
Okay, first of all, no.
Hold on. It's a 16-year-old kid, and I'm not saying that they.
Well, they were also
16-year-old kids are tried for murder sometimes because they actually do murder.
Going back to
and he didn't commit the act of rape by any accusation.
Yeah.
If it did happen, it is inappropriate. But you are talking about somebody that was in a situation where he.
If it happened the way she said it happened, I would 100% be fine with being like that guy's not above reproach in any way. He shouldn't. I mean.
Yes.
Attempted rape is a pretty dick move. It's a pretty big dick move.
And I'll go and say this and pull the
relatively rude.
Agreed. I think for good reason I'm going to pull the race card on this. In this day and age, from what I've seen over the past 10 years, if you're 15, 16, 17, 18, and you're black, you are grown. You are ripe for prosecution.
If you're a 16-year-old.
If you want to go against that case, we have serious problems because you've seen it as well as I have. So don't tell me he was 16. Remember Thursday when he was testifying? When he was testifying, he said we were all 18. We were all of drinking age. The drinking age was 18. So when did this happen, Kavanaugh? Because I'm pretty sure she was saying he wasn't. She wasn't saying he was 16. She was saying he was 17 or 18 when it happened.
So was she ever able to identify a
You're
location?
factually incorrect on him being 16 at the time. He said as much Thursday.
He's 16 or 17 when the original Ford event. He's 16 or 17. And I'm not saying that you don't get a free pass. I agree. You just have to remember that you're dealing with a high schooler.
I did a lot of stupid things in high school. I never tried to sexually assault someone. I wasn't like a dude that was like, yeah, we're part of the Ralph Club. I wasn't this entitled prick that went around like, I'm part of the Renata alumni, which that was just, relating over to friendship, not sexual. You have to be an idiot if you look past these things in and around the time when this assault allegedly occurred. So when I hear Senator Graham and others are like, this happened when he was 16, or that he was a kid, or this probably didn't have these allegations. That's
and
silly.
Clear,
Evidence is right in front
pass.
of you.
I just want it to be like some people picture a college senior because of the way it's been explained in some.
Yeah, last words from you, and then we'll go to the topic.
Damn it. I got distracted because I thought you were already switching.
There you go.
But yeah, to me, the biggest issue is just anyone acting like that she, like people were saying, like, why would she ever put herself through this if she didn't? If you're agreeing with this sentiment, we're going to hate it, because we just had a lady in Louisville lie about her kid getting kidnapped or some shit. People lie for attention. I'm not saying this lady did that. I'm not comparing to that lady. All I'm saying is that people fucking lie like a lot. And I'm not saying she's a liar. I'm just saying, I definitely, if it was our dad that had been accused of something 30, 20, 50 years ago or whatever, we would not look at this the exact same way if it's some guy that I would never vote for. Would you agree with that, though? Like, if it was your dad?
I can agree. No, I'm not going to agree with that. No,
well, maybe your dad's an asshole.
My dad's
not.
My sister is a miserable person. I will say this live on podcast. So if she was accused of something, okay, when you bring in the yearbook, when you bring in his buddy writing a book called Gen X, the Tales of a Gen X Drunk, you know what I'm saying? And it talks about, what was it, BrettKavanaugh or Kavanaugh or something? You know what I'm saying? And it literally goes along the same timelines of this event. I'm sorry, there's certain evidence that kind of makes it a little bit more credible for that to have happened. It's not like she just came out of the blue.
No, I
there's
feel that.
nothing to substantiate it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there is nothing to substantiate it, like, fully.
Yeah.
If it was a murder case, he would not go to jail.
No.
Period.
No.
There's not enough evidence. That's all I'm saying.
Evidence can't swing a
The
jury.
difficult part about it. I'm just saying no one on the far left wants to admit that this is even difficult.
Right.
They just act like, they say believe women, because obviously women don't ever tell lies.
I'm not doing that.
I know that. I know that. I said the far left. You ain't the far left, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Lauren, finish this, Lauren. Go.
All I have to say is, to go back to the first thing that was said about Trump's quote, just about if it's a scary time for young men in America. It's always been a scary time for women in America or anywhere.
There you go.
And for once in history, men are finally scared of women for something. And I know it's hurting a lot of people, but we've been hurt by it forever.
There you go.
So sorry.
Good point. Damn
Sorry,
good
you're
point.
scared now.
Damn good point.
We've been scared forever.
Next topic, real quick. Kanye West again calls to abolish the 13th Amendment. Jump in, guys.
Just do it and go.
No, I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice to even mention his name anymore.
You're
that
going
cat.
to the table. You have first mic.
I feel like
he's like trying to think, what was that guy that had the terrible MTV? I was just trying to think of someone that's like as weird as Tom Green. He's like Tom Green to me. Like, that's how, like, I would rather listen to Tom Green's opinion on politics than Kanye.
Yeah,
They're both idiots, and all they want is attention so desperately.
Exactly, and that's the thing. He's doing this for attention, and that's.
Is it attention?
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's not a narcissist, then fucking no one is a narcissist.
Like, when he took that picture with Donald Trump, I'm surprised that, like, the camera didn't explode from all the narcissism, like, overload.
Like, I wouldn't be
Did they have
surprised.
a filter on when they took the
I
photo?
think like a negative for like narcissism. It was a
I feel like if
narcissism
he
negative.
lost his fame, he would Bruce Jenner it. That's how much I like. He likes attention.
No. He wouldn't Bruce Jenner. He'd get like 3 dicks implanted. So you'd be like, I have the most dicks.
I got 4 dicks.
Yeah, I got all the dicks now. What?
Pickle Rick.
I can get her airtight.
No
all by
more
myself.
Kanye. Bring back Conway. That's what I'm saying. Conway Twitty. That's what we need in the world. He 100% Kavanaugh'd somebody, though. Conway Twitty had to. Anyway.
NAFTA out. USMCA. United States, Mexico, Canada. What's your take on this U.S. trade with Canada and Mexico?
It's another Trump decision, you know.
According to his supporters, it's a win. Another Trump win.
Well, I mean, you know, everything he does for them is a win, apparently. It really doesn't matter. The tax breaks that aren't going to affect them, that they will see at the end of this year, and in 2 years we'll see haven't benefited them and created more jobs. It's whatever he does now is okay to his base.
Well, just like Reagan didn't really help the people that voted for him, and yet they loved him. And he obviously has the same slogan as Reagan.
Yeah, well, you could dig up Reagan and reanimate him, and I'd go for that before Trump.
Then maybe you need to read more about Reagan. I'll be honest. Reagan's terrible. It's so weird, too. I literally grew up, like, Reagan was, like, right under Jesus and my family, grandparents and stuff. But it's because, really, he was the first time that the evangelical vote was used, and I use that word very specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And with
what's going on right now.
And exactly. And Trump did the same thing Reagan did. Like, you know, Reagan voted a very extremely liberal decision about abortion, for instance. Before he was president, a decade before he was president, a very liberal decision in California. And then he came out wanting to overturn Roe v. Wade when he started to run for president. Bush did the same thing. The first Bush, he was always pro-abortion and pro, like condoms. They said his nickname was a rubber because he always talked about, because he was trying. The idea was he obviously wanted people not to over procreate. And then Trump did the exact same thing. Trump was always pro-abortion, and then now,
Pro-life.
shocker, he is. Now he's pro-life.
Yeah, now he is.
He used to be. Yeah.
Pro-choice.
I
You never want to say
pro-choice. Yeah, that's what I meant to
You
correct
never
you
want to say
on.
pro-abortion.
Well, you know what? That's the real word. Let's deal it. That's the word. It's pro-abortion.
Nobody's
I don't mean like
yay, abortion.
I don't mean cheer for it.
Nobody's cheering.
No, I am.
Good.
Like
I have. Yeah.
More.
That's a really
more
like waving flags with babies and blenders. Like,
No.
oh, dude. God.
But the idea that my point is that Trump just so successfully did the same thing Reagan did, which is pretend that he was a conservative Christian. But at least Reagan had one wife, and shit. Yeah. And didn't. I mean, at least when he fucked hookers, he did it quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This is an off topic. I got to get Kevin's take on this. Sperm donor. This is legit. Who has sired, 29 girls, 16 boys. Those 45 kids who are technically
Yeah, they're half brother and sister.
They are using an online. They are connecting with each other. They want to do a.
Should they be able to find the dad?
Well,
Is that the issue?
Well, no. I'm curious to know if you were one of those. No, not find the dad. Would you want to meet one of the 45? You want to interact with your other?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Would you?
See if you have anything in common.
No.
Why not? Why would it be so terrible to meet them?
Yeah. Why would it be a bad
Guilt.
What would you feel
immediately? I mean,
Why would you feel guilty?
Because it's like you met this thing that you created with your own bodily
No. The
fluid.
question is, would you, as a sibling, want to meet the other sibling?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I've had estranged siblings before that I met, and I was like, "You're cool." And then I met, and then it just didn't. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes
they're
friends.
doing an online thing to.
It's like, tell me about your mom, and he's like, oh, she's a nurse. So it's like, tell me about your dad.
Because that's
he came in a cup.
The dad is the common denominator here, but that mother and that other family. Now think about it. It's not. It would be not just the dad.
Powerful sperm donor.
Yeah, he is
powerful.
Killing it.
And then today, I read where here in Louisville, 2 men were accused of robbing grave sites, stealing urns.
Who is that hurt?
Preston Highway Cemetery.
For what? What are they going to
Well,
do?
at first I thought there's something diabolical here. They're robbing these urns. They're stealing these
Probably
urns.
just selling them. They're expensive.
They are expensive.
Well, I thought for my morbid thing was that they're doing something with the
They're gonna smoke a dead body. I would smoke.
or something.
I would put
but
that
then,
in a blunt.
then the reality set
weed,
in when I read
tobacco,
the
my
article.
grandmother
They're
smoked it
actually, to your point, they're actually taking the urns and selling
Protein
it for
powder
the
smoothie.
money.
I
So I
bet-
thought they were going to do something with the
They
ashes
probably were
or
concerned
something.
that they had 3 teeth left, and they wanted to make sure the meth got rid of them.
The meth. Speaking of meth,
That's just not-
did you hear
that's
how
not
Roseanne's
earnest.
character got killed off on that show?
Pain pills? Or something like that?
Opioids.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
What?
They went
Oh,
there.
wow.
Like it's on, like it aired. Like
That will. I don't think it's aired yet, but when the new show comes out, her character died.
I get
of
to
an
watch
overdose.
That's so-
Roseanne overdose.
Yeah. It's so.
Oh
it's
my
so
God, I'm
silly,
so
though, 'cause
excited.
obviously that's not how she would die. I mean, she's like the perfect candidate for heart disease. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
She's already died of heart disease. We just hadn't found out yet.
Exactly.
Google it real quick.
Google it real quick.
I feel like since we started talking about this, she's dead now. That's
Anything news related that happened or you all want to throw out?
Well, we all heard about the news today with Donald Trump's past financial history. Apparently, he
I didn't catch this.
upward. Good Lord, was I the only one watching?
Yes, you're bringing news to the show. Go ahead.
Well, you can Google this while I'm talking about it.
He sounded as fucking uppy as old Zach right there. He's like, you didn't watch the news for an hour?
Watch what? Anyway, but apparently today, financial the New York Times did a big expose on his financial history. It doesn't relate to the 2000s before his father died, but it does to prior to that. And apparently, he's borrowed upwards of almost $1 billion from his father, whereas his whole thing during the campaign trail
$1
was
million.
$1 million. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you only get $1 million loan, obviously you did it all on your own.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, of course. Who needs $1 million million to start off. But apparently, a lot of the things were illegal. The what is it? Timeline for him to be actually like prosecuted for him. What's the term for it? Statute of limitations just ran out on those. But as far as the civil aspects, he could still have like fines that go against him. And this was a big story on MSNBC and CNN. Fox News covered it a little bit. I did watch all three, as I always do. I have to get all opinions. But it seems like kind of a another kind of arrow going towards his tax returns that he's never released.
Right.
So this might be the actual open door to those, because this is raising a lot of questions.
It's definitely so weird that he's never released any of that to me. But
you know, ever since Gerald Ford, every president has released their tax returns, and this was one thing he said during the campaign that he was going to do, but as his base does, they don't really care about certain promises when it comes to a wall and tax returns, things of that nature. It's just, hey, you know, I'm not going to release them, which kind of says everything after this news came out today. Obviously, you've been doing illegal things, shuffling around money. You were in debt with your Atlantic casino. Your father came in and bought $3.5 million in chips and didn't make a bet. These are facts, you know. Like,
that's amazing. I do have to go play. I love you all. All right. Kev, thanks. See y'all guys.
See you soon. Go ahead and pass the microphone to the left-hand side. There you go. Get you in here, Casey. But no, I was surprised because I figured this would be one of the main talking points, because on all the news conduits, it was a big talking point today, as I said, with the exception of Fox News.
Is this Mueller? I mean, how do you see Mueller playing this out?
And that was the thing when it talked about his tax returns and things of that nature. Like, Mueller is also like trying to tap into, like, not necessarily just collusion with Russia, but also, you know, like his financial background when it comes to Russian oligarchs and things of that nature. And a lot of the money shuffling that he's done is in this expose from the New York Times. It kind of might give a hint to why he hasn't released his tax returns, because if he's doing it there, like here, like in the States, when it comes to international money, he still has not broken himself apart from, like, Trump.
Of course he has.
Like, you know what I'm saying, the company. So this could be another, like, you know, like window, you know what I'm saying, into something. I'm just hoping in November things could kind of change in the Senate and House, where people in government in the system of checks and balances can actually give a fuck. And we're waving this one off camera. But yeah, this was a big story today, and I found it intriguing. Wolf Blitzer was all about it. He committed fraud. I'm like, dude, calm down. It was a small mention of like fraud, but what he did was, like, some of it legal, but a lot of it just not on the up and up, so to speak.
I want to go back to a topic we've actually talked about this last few weeks. The whole hazing thing. You know, I don't get that. I visualize these spoiled rich white kids in these frats who somehow have this stupid fetish about doing shit with animals and drinking games, but then it's a real problem, because
Casey, you were a frat guy, weren't you?
No, I was didn't drink till I was 26.
Oh,
that makes sense.
And don't tell my grandmother I ever have.
You know what gets talked about here stays here.
Of course, yeah. Where's this going to go? You know, just a couple thousand people. You know.
No, I stayed out of the frat life. I pretty much I was a hack athlete at Virginia Tech, and then
Virginia Tech.
When it comes to the whole frat mentality, it's that whole, like, the sense of entitlement those kids had from a very young age kind of bleeds over into college, and they want to still have that kind of sense of we're better than the other people in the school.
Yeah, and also they share those traumatizing memories, and the number one memories that you remember, unless they're too traumatizing or repress them, the number one things you remember are things that are traumatizing.
Right.
They're all going through this same hazing process, which makes them all remember it, and they have this, like, weird secret in common.
Yeah, and
So
that's
they
the
keep
thing. It's
doing
like
it.
they have that weird, like, secret in common, and it kind of keeps the brotherhood going on past college. But, like, when you're in high school, it's easy to be the cool kids, especially, like, if it's not a private school and you have, like, a lot of money, your parents have a lot of money, you're going to have a better car, you're going to have, like, you know what I'm saying, a bigger house, you're going to throw those house parties when your parents go out of the town overseas or whatever. So when you go into college, you want to be able to recreate that. A college is big. You know, you can't just be the coolest guy with the most money. So when you have a frat, you have all those guys with all the most money recreating that whole, hey, we're still the cool kids in school, and people want to be a part of this exclusive like group that we have going on. It kind of helps perpetuate that. It's kind of sad. It's sad, and it just keeps the whole like white privilege, like, you know what I'm saying, rich kid thing kind of going. And it's not the same as with sororities. I'll say that much.
It gets so gay too. That sounds really weird. But why? I don't understand why it has to go that way.
It's very chummy.
Yeah, I feel like it's a
way.
repression. It's a repression of some feelings they couldn't get out, and they're like, let's do it in the dark in the basement.
Yeah, and you know, it'll be part of the hazing ritual.
Yeah, it's just hazing. That's what it's called.
When you're in high school and like you're the pretty white kid hanging around your other pretty white kid friends, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're all like attractive guys, like, you know, like hanging around. So when you get to the whole frat experience, there's over drinking that takes place that gives you an excuse to be like, hey, Brett, we always hung around and like, man, love how we were on the swim team together, like the Speedos. But, you know, this is frat, man. We can, you know, it's all good.
It's a brotherhood.
Yeah, it's a
I mean, I wrestled in high school, and one of the hazing things, fortunately, I was bigger than most of the people around me.
You wore a singlet?
I did wear
I just wanted to say that word. It's weird. It's a weird word. Go on.
I rocked a singlet as masculine as you could rock a singlet.
I believe it. I believe it.
But, I mean, one of the hazing points was, you wrestled too, didn't you?
No. I played football.
I played football, or wrestled, played baseball. But they was to like hold somebody down, and they would put icy hot in the genital area.
Yeah.
And that was a thing in wrestling. And I happen to be big enough to where
Here's what I understand. The coaches, I mean, they let that shit go on, and they know.
They went through it too.
The locker room,
probably. They went through it too, probably.
They ignored it. They didn't let it go on. They weren't in the locker room. It was a social thing.
Yeah, it was the rite of passage, you know.
And I have like.
You JV, you want to be varsity wrestler?
It's toxic masculinity.
Oh, what about toxic femininity?
None of it's really a thing, but it's a vocabulary term that helps describe a certain way that people act. So, you know.
I was gonna say sororities are a lot different, like in that kind of way. Like
they just make you care about yourself every single day.
I always went to sorority parties.
Well, you said if sorority parties were anything like fraternity parties, then all dudes would like just watch from the window. They wouldn't even try to be a part of the parties. Just be like,
so much gay shit happens.
I'll watch from the basement window of the sorority party.
It's just the ultimate voyeuristic thing, you know, for like me.
Yeah. But sorority parties weren't like that. Frat parties, yeah.
True.
Gets a little gay.
I was thinking you were playing tonight. You played last night at Diamond, right?
I did. I'm off tonight.
She'll get baited into at least singing one song.
Oh yeah, probably like 7.
Counting on it.
Me too.
Leaving it up to you guys. What else news-wise worthy for you?
Pick something, dude. Not super political, not Trump. Like pick something.
Give me something, pop culture, more like, you know, entertainment movie or something. You know,
you want to get into
something a little.
Me Too thing? Get into pop culture, Me Too, or something else.
Okay. I'm like, all right. Well, I have something. As a jock nerd that I am. There's been a game that came out about 3 months ago. It's the Spider-Man game on PS4, made by Insomniac. It is the best game I've ever played in my life. Kevin, don't you walk away from this table. Okay, I was wondering what you're looking for. You wanted me to like say something that's like,
If I bring a fifth, can I have your second controller?
Oh, look, it's a one-player game. It's a one-player game. There's no microtransactions like so many games nowadays. It's literally the best video game I've played in probably like 18 years. It really is. But I've spent far too much time on the game, and I still haven't spent enough.
Yeah, you look like you've lost your tan because you've been indoors.
Oh, dude, I've been spending time in front of the big screen, man. Swinging through New York. Absolute brilliance.
Swinging. Okay.
I have something. There's this movie that's out, and it's a brilliant idea. It's for children. It's called Smallfoot, and it's an idea about Bigfoot, Yetis. They live in the mountains. They don't know that humans exist. So there's a legend about humans, and they're called Smallfoots.
That's interesting.
It sounds adorable.
It's a kids movie?
It's a kids movie. So I went to go see it with my little brother. The whole movie is completely anti-religion. Like the whole time, like me and Kevin are just like, my little brother's in the middle of
And
us,
this
and we're
is a
just looking at each
cartoon?
other. Yeah.
A kids movie though.
Kids movie. Oh, it's wonderful.
Do you mean anti-religion or anti-establishment?
No, it's literally just like it's about not believing
happy-
what you're told because it's in a book.
Yeah, Happy Feet kind of did the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
They kind of like secretly put it in.
You guys-
I've not seen either.
It's
but
worth
I know the
it's
premise of
worth
Happy
watching,
Feet
but you guys know like the turtles all the way down.
The Ninja Turtles?
No, the turtles all the way down. It's like a kind of hippy dippy way to say that the world sits on a turtle, and what's under that turtle is there's more turtles. Turtles all the way down. So they literally use that phrase in the movie, which is the most anti-religious phrase. And I'm just like, I'm waiting for people to walk out of the movie theater. Like, I'm not gonna let my kids see this.
Yeah, just like a Kevin Cummings gig where he starts bashing. That's the best part.
Yeah,
of it.
I want to look that up and see if there's any articles that mad parents have written about it.
We need to. I need to
That'd be
do
really
some
good.
research for this topic, maybe in the next show. Or
There's
so.
another animated show. Astro Boy was actually very anti-capitalist, anti-America.
Was it a movie? I don't know.
No, I'm familiar with it. I never watched it.
It was a
I know what you're
Pixar
talking about.
style
Yeah.
animated, but it was just very like anti-government, anti-establishment. It would just
Yeah. I do when you don't see it coming.
Well, I mean, it's very, very subtle, but it's basically low key. What was it with the Nazi Party? What they did so well within
Well, what did they do so well, Casey?
Yeah, what did they do so well?
Out of context, you know how bad that sounds.
Yeah,
I know, that's
yes,
why I had
we
to call
do.
you out for
Yes,
it.
actually, yeah, we do. Like, but but Happy Feet's been accused of the same thing, and like maybe they did it intentionally or unintentionally. You bringing up that movie though, I have a topic. How bullshit is it that people still believe in Bigfoot? Like there are still shows about this in this day and age, 2018.
There's like 18 seasons of the
Finding Bigfoot.
Yeah, Finding Bigfoot.
Oh, I thought you had somebody on
your
here.
state.
That was
did.
yeah.
He did. And I asked him point blank. I'm like, no offense, but I'm waiting for them to say this is the series finale. So that last show, they're either going to confirm they found it, or
okay, the thing about a series like that, it comes on like 3 or 4 months after they film it. So if they actually found Bigfoot, you would hear about that like on the news.
No,
way
I mean,
before.
it's no.
They would keep
do
it
the same
underground.
thing. Well, no, they do the
They
same
would
American
hide it.
Idol, all that stuff. They have to keep it all low key. Survivor, they keep it all low key.
Another species. They got to keep that shit low key.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you.
Because it's a TV show. You don't want to give away the end of the.
There's a big difference between
We have to keep dumb people in America.
It's like UFOs.
We have to have copious amounts.
Idiocracy.
Oh, okay.
I like that movie.
We can debate on UFOs being
I
like
love
more of a probability than like possibility. But like when it comes to Bigfoot, it's like one of those things.
Is Bigfoot alien?
There would have been like some kind of droppings or like
What makes you say it?
That's your number one thing.
Well, like Bigfoot shit? No, I'm not concentrating on there being
that's his
Bigfoot
thing.
shit. But like aside from that, there would have been some kind of evidence of a fucking Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying? Rather than like a cloudy video or like these cats were walking in Wisconsin and look at this like little thing over here on the side, like dude in a bear costume. It's like, come on, man. There's no Bigfoot. There's no.
So
Bigfoot.
that beef jerky commercial it's not legit, is it?
No, it's.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The cost. Dear. What's
great ad campaign, by the way?
Marijuana usage is elevating amongst us older people.
One marijuana will
Good.
Yeah, good. That's
Happier old people. That's what I hear in that headline right there.
Well,
happier old people, a more natural way to remedy,
My
the
God.
aches and pains.
Get rid of as many pharmaceutical drugs as we can.
Exactly.
I have
It
to
ruins
admit,
everybody's life.
I have a mild.
Started with a big pharma.
I have mild rheumatoid arthritis, and I'll
That
smoke
has
it.
to help.
It does help. It really does.
So,
and it makes me feel
so
good.
you want an interesting point? They just approved. So you've seen the CBD oils, right? And it's raw. And they're.
I'm curious. How is that approved? Because it is.
I wonder
It's
that
separate.
too.
It's separate.
I don't know.
But
it's
it's
absent
still.
of THC, and it's like
That's what it.
THC is the illegal substance that the federal
That's like
government
the
regulates.
hallucinogen part of it.
Yeah, there is no psychogenic effect in pure CBD.
Did not know that.
But here's my point, and here's the thing that gives me the biggest angst, or the largest amount of angst, is they finally, it was very expensive to get FDA approval for CBD because there's so many chemicals they had to do through a ton of testing. Almost the same time they did that, they went ahead and now it's a trade name, and all these companies that say CBD, they're going to have to take down their signs because they don't, it's going to be almost an over-the-counter thing. And around the same time, they passed legislation for CBD in Kentucky and nationwide to make it legal. So pharma and FDA and all that are in bed together, and it's kind of tragic to read the story. I would have to do more research. I would have needed a set list to get.
What's tragic is that big pharmaceutical continues to do like the paper industry does to keep marijuana from being legal.
Well,
They have so much money.
and so much money, and they're in the pockets of all the people in power.
Well, and it's legal, so like that's fine to take this.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the thing about marijuana is like if you give someone a light and a pot, you know what I'm saying, they can make that in their fucking closet. It's that easy. You know, they would never outlaw liquor again because it's too hard to distill and like make. With marijuana, it's like all you have to do is plant a pod and you're there.
That way.
It's that easy to acquire. So why in the world would you make it legal when people wouldn't have to buy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
pass that joint, man.
yeah, exactly. It's time to go outside for
To the left-hand side.
Exactly.
I like
Stu,
that
you got
Jamaican
any
voice.
gigs coming up?
You know, the funny thing is, in the past 2 podcasts that I've missed, I had 2 gigs.
That was it?
Yeah.
All right.
So
you weren't blowing me off? You were,
No. Well, no, they weren't the day of the gigs. You know what I'm saying? I only blow you on Thursdays anyway.
Okay,
Come on, man.
that's right.
We're on the podcast right now. People are listening.
Thursdays.
Yeah, very thirsty.
You both have wives.
Wives? He's the thirst. He's the thirst quencher.
I was like, I didn't know that.
The thirst quencher, so succulent. But no. After doing my show Saturday, from a comedian that was running it, he was like, "Man, you really need to get back out here." So hopefully this time next week I'll be telling you about things. I plan on going back to the Caravan. They re-sparked things. There are a lot more things going on in Louisville comedy I found out in the past couple months than I actually imagined.
I want that so badly here.
I'm bringing the chops back. Yeah.
Cool.
I wish they hadn't repurposed the venue down on 4th Street because that is, and now that they've redone it, it's a nice venue.
There's a comedy venue on 4th Street?
There was.
Yeah, there was.
No, there's a gorgeous venue. There's the Tavern Concert Hall.
Yeah, but they don't do comedy down there. Comedy
They used to.
the only one.
No, but there was a comedy.
It was
But not now.
It was an improv.
What was the name
Yeah,
of it?
the Improv.
The Improv, right?
It was the actual, corporate company, the Improv, and that was their problem. They were
So
a
I said I
corporate
wish they hadn't
company,
repurposed it because they made it a concert hall, which it actually is an amazing concert hall, but
Yeah.
they don't use it and they don't book it, and it's just an ineffective piece of real estate.
Yeah.
Like if Jennifer Lawrence were asking me to marry her tomorrow, I would probably have the reception there.
Oh, great.
All right,
That's
good
your
to know.
choice.
So,
I didn't know you all were dating. That's
I met her
awesome, man.
parents a couple weeks ago,
Wow.
so I can get in good.
She texts me every now and again, but
Well, she didn't mention it over breakfast, but that's good to hear. Good to know.
all right, Lauren, anything going on with you musically?
Musically, I got my EP I'm working on. The Weed song comes out very soon.
Oh.
Very, very soon. I'm going to have a party for it.
have
Good.
Have you written
What?
anything new lately?
Have I written?
Like something I haven't heard.
I've written about 5 beginnings of awesome songs, I think, but I'm at a point in my writing where I need some collaboration. So I'm working on that.
On the weed thing?
No, I'm talking about writing.
No, I'm talking about when you do your.
Oh yeah.
I think I want to be there and do my little.
You should do a podcast.
I was going to say you should
here's the thing.
record it.
That'd be awesome.
It's not per se podcast. Tuesday night is my podcast night. Like tomorrow night at the Levee, I'm going to show up, do pre-show interviews, live stream it live on Facebook, intermission, and talk to the bands, talk to people there.
Nice.
What are you laughing at?
Well, I smiled and said nice.
Oh,
What do you want me to be like? Oh, that sounds like it's going too soft.
So yeah, it's kind of. I need a gimmick name. It's kind of like on the road, taking it
Yeah.
Shooting from live from whatever.
Shooting from the road.
Something to that effect. But it's not per se a podcast. It's not, I'm not going to have mic stands. I'm just going to have a mic. It's kind of like red carpet kind of stuff.
Okay, after the podcast, I might help you think of a name. I'm not like Kevin Cummings. I can't come like quick wit.
Yeah,
I got
really
it right.
annoying how good he is at
comes
things.
quick wits. No, he's a quicker.
I used to live with her and Kevin. This is my ex
Really?
right here.
It's
Yeah,
true.
really. Yeah.
But he didn't know that had a personality or talked at all. We were both very quiet humans. We just like waved at
We
each
really
other.
didn't communicate that
No,
much.
it was like hi. Like that
I'd
was
never
it.
seen her sing either. Otherwise, it would have gotten weird.
You didn't know she sang then?
No.
Really?
Well, I knew she sang, but I'd
you
never.
didn't see. Oh.
I hadn't heard her.
You didn't like while she was showering, like hear her sing in the shower?
I love how you went straight to shower.
Yeah, I know, right?
Fucking perv.
If I had heard her sing,
what were you
I said
listening?
that in the most loving way possible.
If I had heard her sing,
What were you
The door
doing
is
while she
shut.
was showering?
Yeah, the door is shut and
yeah,
she's
I
singing
was in my
the shower.
room.
I know, but you couldn't hear her singing.
My room was my neurological cubby.
Lauren
I
just seems
stayed
like
in my
someone
room.
who
I had
would
my
sing in the
animals, I stayed
shower.
in my
Do you
room.
sing in the shower?
Oh, I sing everywhere.
Exactly. That's my
All the
point. It wasn't perv.
I was
When you say
I
it,
was
sounds
Jake
dirty.
Ryan.
I heard her sing like maybe like a couple times like around the house.
Yeah.
Like I'd never seen her like behind a microphone.
Yeah,
if I had,
that's a
I would have
different
had to
story.
move
Like
out
when
quicker.
she's
Yeah, I would have been like outside the
baking.
shower, like her and Kevin in there. No, that would have been weird.